All right, here we go. Trap Lord Ross, welcome back to VladTV.
Good to be back, man.
Well, a lot has happened since last time, but we can't start this interview without talking about how Central Cee's goons pressed you at ComplexCon.
Squash the beef, man. Can we squash the beef, or is it?
Never have beef, man.
Are you sure?
Man. Never have beef.
Come on, I appreciate you, bro. You know I said your album was the best UK album that was ever dropped.
I heard you.
No, you just say you gotta do a little bit more research. You say you're not the facts ain't there yet.
Hey, look, I heard.
Hey, listen, what makes you think you can come in and speak like that?
I mean, I thought I was just saying what's up.
You just saying what's up.
Nah, you good.
Just saying what's up. How is it? It's like that.
Get out of the booth, bro. Get the fuck out of the booth, bro.
It's good.
Get out, bro. Relax, man. Go outside the booth, and I'll come outside and I'll talk to you outside the booth. Get out of the booth.
Is that what it is?
Get yourself out of the booth. Good, man. Take him out of the booth, bro. You ain't got nothing. Take him out. I got it.
I'm holler at you.
Take the guy out of the booth, bro. Bro, get out of my booth, bro.
You with him? Let him go.
Go, bro. Go with him, bro. Get out of my booth, bro. Get out of my booth. Hurry up, bro.
Hey, good to see you, man.
No, it is.
Huh?
You see me.
You chill.
I make the music.
Yeah.
I run a business, so I can watch things from a different standpoint.
Man, it was just, I mean, goons, it was one goon, really it was his manager, but yeah, that was wild, man. That was crazy.
All right, but you're actually protected by VladTV security.
Man, shout out to Vlad for coming through with the security, man. That is, seriously, shout out to the security, man. Like, they killed it. Yeah, man, I really appreciate you kind of tapping me in with some good security out in Las Vegas, man. So shout out to Gab, who organized it, my guy JT and Ray. Like, they were epic security. So yeah, they made sure that I was straight in that situation, and I got you to thank for that, man.
Of course, man. My pleasure. Well, let's talk about what happened, because you were at ComplexCon, you were hanging out with academics, and Central Cee was there. Right? Now...
Well, okay, actually, it's kind of the other way around. We was walking around ComplexCon, just sort of looking around, taking in the vibes. We'd been there for maybe like an hour or two, not very long. And then I see from a distance, I spot in a distance like I caught a rare Pokemon, I see academics and Central Cee together. So it was a completely like random occurrence. It was just like, yo, they're over there. Ask my mans. Let's just go see what's up. Let's just go see what's going on. But it was random. It wasn't like I was with academics, because I think some people think that academics kind of maybe like lined Central Cee up, and that's false. Like, that's not true. It wasn't a play. Me and Ack didn't plan it. I see them over there. I was like, let me go over there.
Well, I usually go by the rule that if I talk bad about someone and I see him out, I usually don't talk to him.
That's a good rule. It's a good rule.
And I have not followed this rule over the years. You know, me and Drake had a little thing that happened at one point because I approached him and he felt that I was talking trash about him. Really not me. It was like Charlemagne and people like that. And a situation almost occurred. And after that, I'm like, if I see someone and I know I've been very vocal about them, I just won't say anything. That's it. I'll just let him come and go, and that's that. But you decided to actually approach him.
I did, man. I did. And I feel like, look, a lot of people have tried to come at me and say, like, you was antagonizing Central Cee. Like, it was a random occurrence. I'd gone to ComplexCon to network, to meet people, to have viral moments. It really was just like the crazy chance encounter. But I'm not going to lie, like, I just felt like, look, we in a venue, everybody's here, mingling, mixing. ComplexCon's known for people having crazy face-offs and altercations. I just said, look, I'm just going to go over there and see what happens. I'll keep it real. I did not expect to even get that close. I was thinking, okay, let's see if we can get over there. Let's get in the booth. Maybe I'll buy some of his merch. And like, I was thinking, I'm probably going to get turned away from the booth, and that's going to be that's probably going to be a little moment. Like, Trap Lord Ross couldn't get in. I was shocked that I even got up close enough to where he was putting his hand out to shake my hand.
Well, right. You guys started to talk a little bit, and you were like, oh, you know, I did say that you had like the best album out of the UK. So he kind of gave you like a half-hearted handshake.
It was a weak handshake, but it was a handshake nonetheless. And he reached out. He reached out for the handshake. I'll keep it real with you, Vlad, because I look, all right, I'm a troll. I've been saying a lot of bad stuff about him. I've said a lot of good stuff too. I'm a very independent, like, unbiased journalist, okay? I gave a lot of opinions about him, some good, some bad. I could not believe when he put his hand out to shake my hand. That blew my mind. When that was all going on, I was thinking, bro, I didn't think I was going to get into the booth, all right? And then next thing you know, he's reaching his hand out to shake my hand. Now, here's the interesting thing, okay? We ended up having a little back and forth. Obviously, I walked in there. When I got up behind academics, I said, yo, what's up, Ack? Like, this is a crazy place to meet you. Like, you think we could squash the beef? And then Academics kind of brought me into that conversation with him to say, let's squash the beef. He said, there's no beef. I'm thinking, okay, maybe I thought there was a little beef. And then he reached out to shake my hand. I'll keep it real with you. For everyone that says I hate Central Cee, I got a big problem with him. In that moment when he shook my hand, I was thinking, like, man, like, he a nice guy. And we had a little back and forth. I didn't get any negative vibes from him at all. I thought he was a cool guy. And it's very unfortunate that his manager came over and basically got to try and oppress me, because I feel like if we'd have been allowed to have that conversation for a couple more minutes, I think we would have come to some understanding. I would have said some really positive stuff. I would have said, look, man, like, it's ironic because the stuff that he said after I left about, look, I'm just a brand entity. I'm not really like, I'm not really everything that I portray. I feel like we could have actually come to an understanding, had got off on a positive terms, and realistically, there probably would have been like 2 years worth of positive press from me for Central Cee, because it's like we could have gained an understanding. He could have clapped back at some of my points, and then it could have been like, Central Cee is a super cool guy, super nice guy. Like, I'm not going to be too harsh on him anymore. But his manager came over, got to pressing me, and then it was kind of like, okay, well, it's kind of up. This is the moment now, because I thought the moment was going to be me and Central Cee shaking hand, having an understanding, and moving past the animosity. And then it's kind of like, I feel like looking back, I feel like his manager kind of played that wrong. Yeah, they got an issue with me, but like, I'm the media. Like, it would have been better off for us to squash it, have like almost like a heartwarming moment and get me on your side. But, he came over, he did his thing.
Well, you essentially call Central Cee a studio gangster.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And I mean, that's not a flattering thing to say about somebody, but I felt like it was true. And I said his music's great. He's #1, the best music that a rapper has to offer in the UK in this era, but he's not really killing people. He's not really stabbing people. He's not rolling around with the knives and like, that's not what was going on. And it's like, obviously that's disrespectful if your whole image is based on, I'm portraying this gangster persona, but it's like, I don't know, you could probably point to other people. I mean, I don't know who else comes to mind, but it's like a lot of rappers have been very successful. They make great art. It's like, I low-key in the video, I low-key showed him respect and said, look, the reason that Digger D, who's your main enemy, who's really about all of that stuff in West London, is in jail, unable to release music, is because he really was. So Central Cee, you the smart one. So it's like, there's all these little positive things in there that I feel like were overlooked because they took that to heart. But it's kind of like, we could have hashed that out in that conversation and then had a positive kind of footing for our relationship. And again, I feel like if we were just allowed to talk for another 2 minutes, I think we would have actually like squashed it. I would have had a better perspective going forward. I feel like I would have given him an opportunity to clap back at what I was saying. And I wouldn't have been like, I'd have been like, oh yeah, no, I hear where you're coming from. Like the same stuff he said to Academics 10 minutes later, if he'd have said that to me, I think we would have had an amazing exchange and it would have been positive press, but it's not what happened.
So his manager started to press you and basically telling you, get out?
Yeah, he came over. So if you see the clip, right, he basically came over and I'm in conversation with Central Cee. I was about to say something. And basically, I wasn't going to say something nasty, but I was about to kind of bring up the kind of the animosity about the documentary and kind of have that back and forth. You hear me basically say like, I heard, and then as soon as I'm even about to kind of get into this dialogue, his manager comes over and basically says like, what are you doing here? And this is the funny thing. I don't think anybody, even the people with me, I don't think anybody knew what it was except for me, because I know everything I've said about him. I know the back and forth. I know they were mad. I know that his crew of like, tried to press other UK creators in the UK when they've run into each other.
Oh, really?
It's a known thing. There's a guy called Billy the Goat, a guy called Cremo. Like they've both ran into him and his manager and had issues with him in the UK. Now, so I'm knowing, as soon as I see him, the manager, I'm like, I know what this is about to be, but I don't think anyone else knows. So he's like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, I'm just saying what's up. And he says like, what do you mean saying what's up? Like, what do you mean saying what's up? And I'm kind of like, I know what this is about to be, because low-key, this is where they messed up, is that like they low-key gave me like a viral moment, and I don't feel like they necessarily came away looking too good, because like before I even turned up, there's a little clip, you're going to see it, where it's like they're hearing whispers that I'm around, and like his manager comes over, is like, Trouble Ross here, and they're all like looking around, looking for me. Somehow I managed to get in there, and so anyway, like the manager basically is just saying to me like, yeah, like what you doing here? And he's just like, no, there ain't no saying what's up, like get out. And then I'm kind of like, you hear me say, I'm like, oh, is that what it is? But I'm with my security. Maybe he didn't notice that I have my security kind of like right by me. And then he starts yelling in my face, like, get the fuck out the booth. And I'm kind of like, all right, like, yeah, maybe. And then basically it's like my security is like, yo, relax. Like to his manager, like, yo, relax. And he's a big guy. Like, bro, he a big dog. Like, bro, I ain't trying to fight this guy. Like, I want that. But I have my security. So I'm kind of like, you ain't really good. You ain't really able to do anything to me right now. But also like, all right, I'll get out. I kind of slowly got out and basically was just like, bro, we can talk. Like, you ain't letting me have a conversation with him. Like, me and you can talk. Let's talk it out. Like, you guys clearly have this issue with me. Get it off your chest. Let's talk it out. So what you didn't see after that clip on Academics' stream, but my camera guy doing my vlog was filming. Once we get outside, his manager comes over to me, and then we basically had a little back and forth. And it was interesting, man. It was interesting. Some people saying I stood on business. I definitely wasn't backing down, and he did say he was going to punch me, but no punches were thrown. So
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what that means. So like, you say you're going to punch me, you didn't punch you. Like, that's a lot of people have been saying, oh, you was. I don't feel like I was acting tough. Like, he was saying, oh, you think you're a tough guy. I was like, I'm not a tough guy. I've never been a tough guy. I'm here to have a conversation. And like, what we doing? I'm here. I said it a few times. I said, look, I'm here right now. Let's have the conversation. It's happened. Like, let's talk. And he basically just said, like, if you know you got a problem, you shouldn't come into the booth. You should send your security to come and check if he wants to talk to you. And I didn't say this, but it's just kind of like, bro, like, I know what it is. Like, obviously, I'm not going to send my security to go and ask. Obviously, he's not going to have me in there. It was really, it was a game of buckaroo. Like, let me see how far I can get before this thing goes left. And that's when it went left. And it just, you know, it is what it is. I think his manager was thinking he was going to press me on some tough stuff. Maybe didn't realize that I was securityed up and that really wasn't going to run. And then kind of like flopped, really, when really I feel like we should have had a positive conversation, like a more man-to-man, and just, they could have just been like, yo, we didn't feel how you were portraying it, and then I could give my reasons, then we could have got on an equal footing. But it's like, they was like, we're going to press him on a tough guy thing, but then it's like, but I got 2 security, so then it's kind of like, what we doing? Then he just walked away.
Well, this is why you have real security as opposed to some street guys that you may know or some tough guys around you or whatever, because real security will conduct things professionally and de-escalate situations. Whereas if you had some guy whose job is there to be tough, he would now engage the manager and be like, no, I'm about to punch you in the face. And then, you know, because your security wasn't saying that, I wouldn't send someone with you that was going to make the problem worse. So they didn't necessarily de-escalate, but they kept things even. And this is why you have professional security as opposed to just the homies around. This is a perfect example.
For sure. And it's funny because there's been a lot of response. I'm not going to lie, I would say mostly positive response for me in what happened. But like, there's been a lot of people kind of making this comment like, oh, you would have never done that with security. It's like, yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, like, if it was just me and that giant dude was chasing after, bro, I'm running. Like, that is what it is. But I step with security to events where I know that there's going to be a problem or overly fans. Yeah, I'm having security. Like, that's the smart thing to do. So it really wasn't something where like I felt like I was trying to be tough. I didn't press it. I wasn't trying to be tough, but it was just like, this is a public event. I'm here. I've seen you guys are here in public. I've seen you. We're all at the same event. It could have been me. It could have been any other number of people. But like,
yeah,
your security was kind of lacking because I shouldn't have even. I'm surprised I got in the booth. Honestly,
right? Because Central Cee has security also.
I didn't. I don't know where they was. Like, I didn't see him. I see his big manager and then like 2 of the man them in like shiesties. But like, it just went how it went, man. Honestly, for me, it couldn't have gone better. It was perfect. Like, every step of the way, I'm like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's just like, we're walking around ComplexCon, like, we're trying to look for content. We see Central Cee and Academics. We're like, this is perfect. And then we're like, let's go and see if we can get into the booth. We get let straight into the booth. We're like, perfect. This is great. Perfect. We're in here. Like, I'm like, let me see if I can go say what's up to Academics. Next minute, I'm shaking hands with Central Cee. I'm like, this is perfect. Like, we're in here. Like, I don't know how that was allowed to happen. I feel like it could have played out differently, but at the same time, like, I really don't have an issue. It's not a tough guy thing. People have been saying, don't ever do that again. Bro, I'm not bumping into no Lil Durk. I'm not bumping into no Youngboy. It just so happened I bumped into Central Cee. And like, it went how it went. You know, I'm grateful for the security for having my back. I'm grateful for Complex for putting on a good event where things like that can go on. Like, really, I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't be surprised if after all that was said and done, even Cench and his manager were probably like, yeah, we had the most viral moment at ComplexCon. Like, that was a good look for everyone. So definitely not trying to run into him again, but, you know.
Well, you just interviewed Tekashi 6ix9ine.
Yep. That was crazy, man. That was crazy. And salute to you, because you really popped out with probably the most legendary 6ix9ine interview ever made. And then he's kind of on a press run right now. So you done kicked down the door for a few other people, but your content on 6ix9ine's goated, man. You're like, can I take my glasses off? Like, can I put my glasses back on, Vlad? Like, come on, man. That is absolutely iconic, bro. So that was lit. And I was blessed to even get a little slice of 6ix9ine knowledge from that whole situation, man.
I mean, yeah, that interview right now is at almost 16 million views combined.
Killed it, man. That's just interview 1?
Well, the whole interview 1, right, exactly, yeah.
And so now you got interview 2.
Yeah, interview 2. And interview 2 is going to have other stuff.
We go on interview 3?
Well, if he stays out of prison, yeah. November 24th.
And if he doesn't, first fresh home, you got to get that interview.
I have to.
For sure.
I have to. What do you think was sort of the biggest moment of your interview with Tekashi?
Yeah, so I really wanted to take a different approach because not only had you killed it with the interview, like best 6ix9ine interview I've probably ever seen in my life, your first interview with him, I really wanted to try and do something different. And because I've been doing a lot of this stuff on my second channel, Trap More Ross, where I'll be doing reactions and kind of breakdowns and all different types of content, my vision for this was like, let me get all my equipment and my screens and my computer and stuff and sit down with 6ix9ine and do like reaction content like I would do on my second channel with him. So the biggest piece of content that I feel like came out of that so far was we did a tier list of all of the rappers. So all the rappers that have been accused of raps. I don't even know about tier lists.
Yeah, of course.
Like, yeah. So like we was ranking all the different rappers that ratted. That one's been super viral. There was another clip that's been going.
Who was at the top of that list?
Man, who did he have at the top?
Who was King Rat?
Nah, he had Young Thug up there.
Young Thug, yeah.
He had Young Thug, he had Gunna. He was respectful though, because Meek Mill was on the list and he was like, nah, Meek Mill's not a rat. Like we're not jacking that, even though I got beef with him. Because there was people on that list that it's like people have said they're rats, but like they ain't really. So it's like it's at your discretion whether you want to call them out or not put them on the list. But that was also that was a good clip. But the other viral clip we had was we did a virtual hood tour. So we went on Google Maps and he basically walked me through his hood for where he grew up. And he showed me, he said it was only 3 blocks away to the Marcy where Jay-Z grew up. So he showed me all this. He's showing me a McDonald's where he got jumped in. So I like to say I'm on my Soulja Boy thing right now. We did the first virtual hood tour ever.
Okay.
And there's going to be many more of those to come. So that was super viral, man. And if you see the clip, like he was wilding out. He was just like, yo, this is lit. Like we in my hood right now. Like he was actually wilding out like we was really on the block. He was like, yo, turn left, turn left. All right. So this, yeah, I got jumped right here. Like it was crazy. So.
Yeah, the thing about Tekashi that you realize, and I'm 2 interviews in now, is that he takes it all very seriously. Some people look at interviews as like, whatever, I got to do this promo run. My manager says I got to do it. Well, I don't really want to do it, but I'll do it. Or, okay, I'll be somewhat engaged. He's like 100% in. He's totally into the project and realizes if he does it a certain type of way, it's going to have a big reaction. I mean, because he told me after our first interview, he's like, yo, my label is like thrilled right now. Like I'm everywhere, all trending everywhere on TikTok, memed out. The videos are going crazy. Like, yo, like this is making me look better. Like, I think he possibly like is ready to re-sign a new deal or something after that first interview. So, yo, I mean, you could just see the difference between artists that do really well, even when people think they're on their way out, versus artists that you think are big, but really are not really taking it seriously. And a couple of years later, you don't see him around anymore.
Facts. I mean, he's a natural born content creator.
Oh, yeah.
He is absolutely, I think he could be bigger on Twitch and Kick than he could be in the record industry right now.
Yeah.
And so I see exactly what you're talking about, because when we pulled up on him, it's like he was ready to record. Once we got going, it was almost like it's like he's a sweetheart, man. He's a super nice guy. Like
he is actually, yeah.
He looks out for you. He's like, yo, you want some food? Let me get you a drink.
Yeah,
like,
he did that with us
out.
too, yeah.
Super good host. But when the cameras are on, he's wilding and he's bringing that energy and he's talking shit about everybody. And like, I just can see him, like he inspired me to be a better content creator. So I feel like when he gets out, he needs to go crazy on Twitch, Kick, however he wants to get his bag doing content. But he just streaming on his own. He could set up one of those big rooms in his crib with all crazy colors and neons and stuff and just have a whole setup, have guests. He would take over this whole thing like that. So I salute him, man. And hopefully I get to jump on a 6ix9ine stream one day,
Diddy is currently doing a sentence at Fort Dix.
Yeah, so he got downgraded to Club Fed, right?
Yeah, you can't make this up. You can't make this up.
He in Fort Dix, man.
Fort Dix.
You think they got baby oil in Fort Dix?
Can you just imagine this conversation? So Diddy, where should we try to get you in? Someplace with dicks. Got just the place for you.
So we got
just the place.
We got Fort Knox or Fort Dix. He said, I'm liking them dicks.
Fort Dix.
I'm liking dicks. That one sounds like the one to me. That's crazy.
Yeah, my man Sebastian Telfair is actually sentenced in the same prison facility.
No way.
Yeah, and I did his interview like the day before he turned himself in.
What did he do?
It was like an NBA health fraud situation. Like he allegedly took some money that he wasn't supposed to take, and he got probation. He didn't take the probation seriously, so he violated his probation. Now he has to do, I think, like 9 months or something.
And 9 months of Fort Dix.
Yeah.
a rough one,
With Diddy.
With Diddy, bro, I feel like all the other inmates, they on high risk now, man. When Diddy probably touched down the yard at Fort Dix like Debo.
Oh yeah. Everyone got to come up with commissary.
Right, I need that baby oil commissary
Someone's
on deck.
doing his nails right now, massaging his scalp. I mean, yeah, there's a whole lot going on.
I see on Reddit, he apparently already got a job in the prison laundry.
Okay.
And apparently he be sniffing them panties. Like
right.
crazy.
So you actually did a video about this. He was allegedly, like, he woke up with a knife on his throat.
Yeah, that was what was alleged. There's not been too many sort of extra details around that. Because when I saw 6ix9ine, he was saying, Diddy's good in there. What's really weird is I did a report. There was a few newspaper articles that covered, apparently Diddy was like teaching business classes inside MDC Brooklyn when he was there. And he was it was called like Game with Diddy or something. It sounded almost too good to be true. Like it's Game with Diddy and he's dropping free game and classes for everybody trying to get in their good books. Now, when I saw 6ix9ine, he told me that was cap. That wasn't true. If there was some Diddy classes going on, he would have been taking them, but apparently that wasn't true. So I don't know if that was a trolling that got spread around or if it was misinformation, but obviously the rumor was he was basically eyeing for a pardon from Trump. There was a rumor that Trump was considering it, and then the bad press around him even considering it. Trump then was like, I'm not giving a Diddy pardon out. That's not happening. But then obviously already before the knife to the throat thing, apparently he was already trying to get moved to Fort Dix because Fort Dix is apparently like, I see you laughing. Fort Dix is apparently like super relaxed compared to the other federal prisons.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little bit more like people at the end of their sentence. There's like it's more like open housing and stuff. So he was apparently angling for the pardon. If he couldn't get that, he wanted to get put to Fort Dix. Apparently that wasn't going too well, but then the guy holding a knife to his throat, they're saying he woke up in the middle of the night. Guy had a knife to his throat, guy going through mental health. And apparently all of that has worked, and they've kind of said, okay, it's a bit hot for you in MDC Brooklyn, we're going Fort Dix. But that means if Tekashi touches down, he might not be chilling with Diddy again, so.
Well, I mean, he needed to get transferred anyways once he was sentenced, because when you're in Brooklyn, that's just a holding facility until you get sentenced. Nobody does their Fed bid in Brooklyn, in MDC. Yeah, you got to go to an actual federal penitentiary. So yeah, he eventually would have gone somewhere. I mean, if he got into like a club Fed situation, good for him. I personally don't think that he deserves any jail time at all. I feel like time served was totally fair considering what he got convicted of. But
you've been Team Diddy, man. But you was right.
Well,
you was right about
so much Team Diddy because I don't support women beaters and that type of thing and some of the crazy shit that he did. I just feel like he got convicted of hiring male prostitutes who are all totally fine with having sex with Cassie. I interviewed 5 of them, right? So it's not that serious of a crime. To get, 4 years over that, I think is a bit crazy. Now, if he got convicted of RICO, if he got convicted of like a serious sex trafficking, like he was actually moving, like pimping out girls and stuff like that, which he wasn't doing, then yeah, I'd be like, yeah, throw the book at him. But in this case, it's not a Team Diddy situation. It's like a fair situation. It's a fair situation. He did not get charged with beating up Cassie. Now, if it was about that and he got 4 years, then I'm like, all right, I get it. But that was not the conviction. So,
do you feel like sometimes judges and prosecutors kind of, they give you a little bit extra on the back end if they didn't get you on the charges they wanted, or is that not how it works?
It's not really how it works, and I really rely on people that really know what they're talking about. Like Judge Mathis is now a regular on my show, and he's an actual state judge. And he said before the trial was over that Diddy's not going to get a slap on the wrist because the judge can consider what came up in the courtroom when it comes to the sentencing. Yes, there's the actual conviction, but he gets to consider what was said and proven in that courtroom, and there was some bad stuff proven. And he said because of that, he's probably going to get some extra years. And he was totally right. I don't think that the judge, the prosecutors are powwow. Okay, we lost this, but you're going to get us on the back end, right, Judge? Judges are not generally extra friendly to prosecutors like that. Judges throw out cases constantly. A prosecutor has shown that they got evidence illegally, or there is some, like the Young Thug case. The judge got thrown out. He tried to kind of powwow with the prosecutors, and the whole thing blew up in his face to the point where he got fired. Mm-hmm. That was a humiliating, think about it. That's what he's known for now. He's the judge that got kicked off the Young Thug case.
That was crazy, man.
So I don't think so. I mean, obviously people are going to have their conspiracy theories, but I think at the end of the day, What that judge did was relatively fair. And even though Diddy is going to appeal, I don't think the appeal is going anywhere. Because here's what people don't realize. Do you know what % of appeals are actually successful?
Nah, it must be low, right?
2%.
2%.
2%. So, Tory's about to get free. He's got a 2% chance of going free. Now, granted, he's got some money, so it probably goes up a few percentage points, but not by much. When you get convicted, you stay there. Generally. Yes, there's some situations like Cosby where it was proven he should have never even been in court, right? That was relatively, he shouldn't have even been in court, so therefore being convicted of something he should have sat in on doesn't make sense. But the Tories, the Diddys, who else is in prison right now? Casanova 2 times.
Yeah, Casanova.
Unfortunately, Taxstone, I don't think there's appeals there. I'm not happy any of these guys are in jail. I know some of them, but the appeal sounds good when you say it. Like, Tekay's not getting a damn appeal.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. A lot of UK rappers in jail that kind of really, they try and say that they're sort of live and die by their appeals, but I don't think I've seen any of them get appeals, you know?
Yeah.
I get that a lot when I've covered UK cases. And they're kind of like, man, could you not have dropped this video after my appeal? And it's kind of like, you got life, bro. Like, do that appeal, but like, bro, you dropped the album.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Big U's son was recently killed in LA. I've never met him before. I do know Big U, though. And me and Big U have always been cool. And I've said this plenty of times. What's the situation around his son?
All right, so I got in a little bit of trouble about this just yesterday. So I got a few updates, a few things I need to clear up about this topic. So, you know, it's just massive tragedy, man. Big U's obviously facing these serious charges. You know, this whole RICO where they're saying developing options was, you know, being used to embezzle money. Obviously, there's the murder of Rayshawn Williams as well. So he's already facing a serious situation. And then his son, Baby Huey, getting killed. You know, he was on it was off Figueroa. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's really unusual. That's kind of a territory maybe associated with the Hoovers. But then a lot of other people are saying that wasn't quite. I've heard people talking about that was actually a Hispanic area that generally run that area where he passed away. And he had apparently walked up to a car and then they opened fire. But clearly he's somebody that knew how to navigate the streets. So I don't think he would be walking up to a random car with the ops in it or something like that. So, you know, there's people saying maybe it was someone he knew, maybe it was someone friendly, maybe it was a situation. So there's really a real vacuum of information about this at the moment. And usually, I'm not going to lie, like usually within a few days of things like that, this happening on Reddit, there's at least 2-3 theories about who was responsible and this group and that group. But right now, I would say it's still just a giant mystery. I've not really seen anything substantial to suggest any particular group is responsible. You know, there's a lot of theories. Like I say, the theory that it was the Hoovers, theory that maybe there was some kind of internal issue going on. Obviously, Big U is allegedly the big head honcho of the Rolling 60s. Maybe him not being around, you know, led to maybe a lapse in security or something where maybe his son would have been looked out for better. So we really don't know. But the reason that I got in a little bit of trouble about this the other day was because I was just doing some digging around the situation. I found his Twitter profile. It's since been deleted. But before it got deleted, his Twitter profile had a bunch of really kind of dark and twisted tweets on it, where it seemed like he was kind of, it looked like at the time, he was kind of tweeting in the third person and saying, you know, I'm a, all type of stuff, you know, I won't get too into it, but him tweeting like, I'm a screw up, you know, I always getting bailed out by my dad or whatever, and quoting song lyrics, but like dark song lyrics, like a lyric from a Kendrick Lamar song where it's like, my daddy a killer, like all crazy stuff. So I did a little video just saying, oh man, he had some really crazy tweets. Like before he passed away, there was some very disturbing tweets. Now, a whole bunch of guys from around him have contacted me to let me know, and I've just cleared this up in a video on my second channel. Apparently, he was hacked on Twitter, and he had some vindictive ex-girlfriend that was basically on his Twitter, like wilding out and basically trying to make it look like he was having issues with his family. Like one of the tweets was like a picture of his mom saying like, I don't even know if basically dissing his own mom and dissing his dad. And so I ain't gonna lie, I thought that it was like, oh, he was struggling for mental health and maybe he was, you know, tweeting a lot of crazy stuff out there. So I've been told by his cousin reached out to me and said, yo, that he got hacked. It's a crazy ex-girlfriend. I couldn't find anything outside publicly, but you know, sometimes stuff isn't public. I couldn't find anything public. There wasn't any like feud with him and an ex-girlfriend, or there wasn't anything that he put out there to be like, yo, man, this is all cap. But I've been told by his close people that apparently that all those tweets are fake and someone was trying to set him up and make him look bad. Now, I'm taking their word for it on this one, but it does seem like, okay, well, if he had that going on, he had all type of issues with different people. Like, he must have, if people are hacking his Twitter and trying to make him look like he beefing with his family, clearly he had a lot of issues going on. So right now, we really don't know. I'm keeping an eye on it because obviously that's one of the kind of biggest cases underneath the Big U case as far as LA, like Big U's case that he's in. Now his son passing away, and I know a lot of people. I spoke to Brick Baby the other day, man. He was just super hurt by everything that had gone on, and obviously BayZoo just passed away as well, and Brick was close with BayZoo too. So, you know, I think just a lot of the guys from over there have definitely been struggling and going through a lot right now. But yeah, I think that the Baby U case definitely like really mysterious, and I'm still like looking really close into it and trying to find new info, but there's not really been much, and like I would usually expect more, at least people to be putting out theories and stuff like that.
Let's just do a quick search to see if there's anything news-wise.
About Baby Huey?
No. Everything's from 4 or 5 days ago. Yeah, there's nothing like today or yesterday.
And I feel like maybe there was a certain degree of like, because there's been so little news about it, like me digging into his tweets was kind of like, it was picking up a lot of traction just because I think everyone was just looking for more information. And like, that was kind of like, okay, well, this is crazy. It's something that I found. But like I say, his cousins reached out. He's told me that it's not true. I'm take his word for it. But everyone wants to know what's going on with that. I mean, that's super high profile.
Well, aren't there 75 potential snitches in Big U's case?
That's what they're saying, yeah.
75?
Well, potential snitches, right? Potential people that could turn on him. But I mean, just on the balance of probabilities, man, you got 75 loose ends. Like, statistically, surely one or two of them going to want to save themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that's like 2 football teams.
And Big U was coaching the football teams, man. So,
Yo.
bruh, it really, Big U clearly, I mean, he's somebody that, you know, he abides by the street code. He allegedly the big dog over there, so he probably ain't even got anybody that he could flip on, and I wouldn't think he was somebody that flipped no matter what, regardless. So it's going to be tough, and he's going to be representing himself in court too.
Yeah, I heard that there might be a little more to that story. Like I think like he wants to see the paperwork firsthand before the lawyer potentially filters it or something. I don't really know. You's a smart guy, man. Like all my interactions have been really, like I'm talking to an intelligent man. I'm not talking to some thug on any level. Like all of our conversations are like my conversations with anyone else who I deal with. And he was completely lucid. I never got the impression that he was high or anything else like that. He never pressed me on any level. Came in, did an interview for free. And we just kept in contact after that. He used some of my content for his documentary. You know, I said, yo, no problem. Go for it. And that was that. We kept in contact. And then when I found out what happened, it was just messed up. But I don't know, 75 people. I'm honestly feeling that at this point in his life, because he's in his late 50s, I would cooperate. Honestly, it's like if I had a whole bunch of information that could get me out of this situation, because you're doing life. With this many charges, you got RICO, you got extortion, you got Mann Acts, and then they're trying to tie him to a murder and so forth. Like, yo, and all the priors he's had throughout the course of his life, this is not going to be a Diddy situation where you're out in a year and a half. Like, you're going to die in prison. So at this point, what's important to you? This image of a rolling 60s OG, or is it the rest of your life in reality?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I think that could really work in Big U's favor is I still think there's some doubt, there's some loose ends about the actual murder. And I think a lot of people have been speculating exactly what the motive would have been for that murder. I think this motive that the kid had made a diss song is a little bit far-fetched. Yeah. Some people are kind of suggesting maybe there was more going on behind the scenes, maybe some more personal issues that were going on within the family. But, you know, I've heard people say, no, he really didn't do that. And there's might be a way that he's going to beat it. And, you know, maybe someone else did it. Maybe there's not enough evidence. So I think there is a possibility that he could beat the murder charge. I think all of the stuff to do with the money that came from the city and the developing option stuff, I feel like, you know, forensic accounting, that's going to make that harder to beat, but also that's not as heinous as a murder. So yeah, I do still think there's a chance that Big U beats it, but I think just like obviously everybody's speculating on what exactly happened with his son, I still feel like we haven't really got like a definitive answer as to why Rayshon Williams was killed. And the idea that he made a Big U diss song and that he was recording at Big U studio and he was tired of him and he dissed him. You know, I don't think that diss song has surfaced. I mean, I dug deep into his Instagram account and there's like a couple of little snippets of songs that, like, if you really reach in, you could say maybe he's trying to sneak this Big U here, but it's like, I think there was probably something more going on. And then also it's kind of like, well, if that's the motive that the state are going with, he'd made a diss song and we can't even hit, like, what's the diss? And that's why he murdered this kid. I feel like that's a bit of a reach. So to be honest, I think he's got more of a hope than someone like Dirk.
Yeah, free Big U. Well, let's talk about Dirk. So there's new paperwork on Dirk, and they're claiming there's like 6 new hits that they're trying to put on him. Seems a little far-fetched.
See, for me, because I'm such a Dirkologist and I've been following this stuff for so long, I've been thinking that there's 6 murders that Dirk might have had something to do with. Like, so this new paperwork for the first time, and I've literally been saying this for years. It doesn't give me too much pleasure to say I was right about this, but I've been saying for ages that incident in Waycross, Georgia in May 2021, where a bunch of guys shot up Quando Rondo in his car 100 times. I've been saying that had something to do with the beef with the BDs from Chicago. People said it was cap. Then there was some guy who was meant to be a BD from Georgia that was claiming the hit on behalf of OTF. And then nobody really wanted to talk about that. And it's just been revealed in that paperwork that the feds are trying to say, nope, that was a conspiracy with Dirk and another person who is redacted from the paperwork, that attempt on Quando Rondo's life was a hit in 2021 that they attempted and failed. And that then there was allegedly a total of 6 additional, in addition to the hit that killed Savia Robinson, there were 6 additional hits that Dirk put out. It doesn't say exactly who they were on, whether they were all at Quando Rondo, whether they were all different people. I could probably conjure up six different scenarios where stuff like this has gone down, and you know, it's possible that the feds are going to try and connect that to Dirk. But to me, it's like, for the first time, I've been saying, yo, this is Quando Rondo gets shot at in 2021 100 times, and then it will just get swept under the rug and no one ever talks about it again. But it's like, now it's in the paperwork. I'm like, yo, he's in a lot of trouble, because if it's taken 4 years for that to even get into the paperwork, but like the feds are on it and they probably got more behind the scenes, that there's a big section of that part in the paperwork that's redacted. I would believe that that's basically a statement that they're going to rely on from court from the confidential witness who was actually involved in organizing that hit. Because literally, I see redactions in court paperwork, but I never seen a redaction in the header. The actual header of that section, it says like, you know, and I can't remember the exact wording, but it says like, conspiracy between, you know, banks and redacted, like the name of the, so it's basically saying you guys tried to do this hit and one of the people that tried to do this hit is redacted and working with us. And then there's a couple of big sections that are redacted. So I think there's going to be like explosive testimony from somebody who was with Dirk at the very top of OTF planning hits. And I think there's going to be so much more that comes out. I mean, this Stefan Mack murder, I don't know how familiar you are with that, but there was another murder that happened and Dirk's not being charged with it, but basically they brought it up at his bail hearing to basically say, we've got a potential other murder for hire scenario with Lil Durk's name attached to it, and this is why he shouldn't get bail. Now, I think, I don't know how the feds really work like that, but like, I wonder whether it's a case where it's like, look, we're not going to try and wrap up this other murder for hire in this because it's going to make it too complicated and harder for us to get him on, but it's like, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring those charges on Dirk later on down the line. And they try and put the Stefan Mack murder. There was a double murder also that took place in Chicago that was allegedly revenge for Dirk's brothers D-Thang getting killed. And again, like I've covered it in my documentaries, but it's like damn near after every time these fools die, you got Dirk on Instagram making a post talking about for D-Thang. Like he was moving so reckless. And it's like, I feel like this stuff I'm covering in videos and it's like people are saying it's cap. And then it's like, we're waiting 4 years. Now the paperwork says, oh, that 2021 shooting had something to do with Dirk. So I think a couple years, they're going to be saying, oh, this other double murder's good. So they're saying, it's said in that paperwork, 6 additional hits are believed to have been made. And so, you know, I could do my best guess, but I believe it 100%.
Well, yeah, look, I've interviewed Dirk's lawyer, Drew Finling. Me and him are really cool, by the way. From what I understand, Dirk's not mad at me anymore because he had to okay that interview, right? And I met his new manager. We exchanged numbers and so forth. What I've always said has been this. Dirk will be okay unless one of the guys that's really been with him the whole time turns on him. If everyone pretty much stays quiet and a bunch of the new guys try to get out of jail free, he could potentially be okay because he has top-notch representation. Drew Finling is no joke. Drew told me, like, he got this woman off who, like, set her husband on fire. Like,
He's a demon, man.
he's a fucking Merlin the Wizard here. Like, who could beat a case like this? She was found not guilty. Set her husband on fire. Like, what the hell? But
does he ever talk about the cases he lost?
has he lost any cases?
He has to have lost cases.
No, that's
surely,
not true.
man.
Some people, no. Some people don't lose cases because they only take on cases that they think they can win.
Okay, that makes sense.
See what I'm saying? Doesn't mean that there's some supernatural power. It just means that we think this is winnable, or there's no way we could win this.
So that's a good point. So the fact that he's taken this on for Dirk is already a good sign, because he is bulletproof
Possibly.
lawyer, and he's saying, I got a chance at this. Because sure, you're right? If he really thought there ain't no chance, surely he wouldn't take it, or he would take the money.
No, listen, I know Drew, and I can't say which case. He turned down a very big, high-profile case, a case that we all know about.
What recent case?
Yeah.
How recent?
Pretty recent.
Really recent.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I'm not going to say what case this is because it's a private conversation, but lawyers on that level are not out there doing commercials. They're not Better Call Saul, like trying to get people to sign up with them. They are bombarded with people who want to hire them as a lawyer, and they decide who they're going to work with. There's no shortage of money for these guys.
No, for sure. I mean, he's killing it. Obviously, there was a lot of talk about how he was doing work for NBA Youngboy too, right?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, and I always thought that was interesting. That's one of those ones where it's kind of like, it's like the streets take notice, okay? You're going to have these whole beasts where you're ops killing each other. The lawyer will come through and represent both of you, because it's just like...
And win both times.
Exactly. So it's kind of like, this ain't worth it.
Yeah.
Well,
I asked him. He said, I don't get involved in that. I don't call these guys by their rap names. I call them by their actual government names. This is who I deal with. And they know I don't get involved in none of this. They can't tell me, oh, don't work with so-and-so. No, it doesn't work that way. So, yeah, man, listen, I hope that Dirk ultimately beats it. And at that point, whatever bullshit he was on, if he was on any bullshit, he just leaves that alone. I feel that he did get drunk off of power to a certain degree, and I feel that his beef with me is sort of an example of that, because it's just like, you're beefing with someone who accidentally leaked the gender of your baby, like, and you say fuck me on like 2 of your albums, like, I'm not an op, seriously. I'm not doing anything to you. In fact, I told you right away that it was an accident. One of my editors accidentally put it out. It was not my fault, and yet here I am. I don't fuck with Vlad, like, on your album and the video and everything. And it's just like, come on, like, seriously, like, we actually know each other. We've socialized before. We've done multiple interviews. It is what it is. So I think that he just became this kind of person that wasn't exactly who he really was in real life. Or maybe this is someone he's always wanted to be, not realizing how serious the consequences is of being that person.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, because going drunk with power is a good way to put it. It's tricky because it's almost like, sometimes I feel a little bit like, because I've studied Dirk so closely, I've probably done, multiple videos. Last video I did on Dirk, full-length video, was like 4 hours long. I dug into absolutely everything, right? And it's just almost like, for me, drunk with power is like, it's true, but it's like an understatement. They were saying in this new paperwork, and I didn't know this until the paperwork dropped, that he was apparently sending OTF members to go and kill O-Block members because they weren't sliding for Von. Now, okay, we'll see whether that's proven in court, but it's kind of like that mindset, like, I'm going to go and... He's so drunk with power, he's got all these hitters. People are begging him to let them go and kill people.
But doesn't that just sound ridiculous when you just take a step back? Like, you're going to kill someone because they didn't kill for your friend who died? You're killing that person? Like, really? Out of all the people you could kill, and it's not like you have an unlimited supply of people you can kill. Every murder has extreme consequences of life in prison. So you're just killing your own people because they're not loyal enough? Like, this part just sounds a little ridiculous.
But is there a way that you could believe that if you knew more of the context? Because it's like, I feel like that in isolation, it sounds ridiculous. I don't want to believe that. But then you kind of...
That's not like the Mexican mafia, right? But that's a jail setting, right? In a prison setting, you have to keep it together. There's race riots. It's a limited system. I get it. Everyone needs to stay in line or else it all falls apart. This guy's a multimillionaire. So he can go anywhere in the world. Like, he's not confined to any sort of situation. All these so-called ops can't do anything to him.
I mean, the thing is, though, I feel like, I mean, they said in the paperwork, they accused him of running OTF like the Mexican mafia. They said
really?
I'm pretty sure they said that in one of the paperwork. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Wow.
And they were comparing case law and cases where like cartel members had like enforced things within the gang. But I just think it's a bit more complicated than that. It sounds wild in isolation. Like, what, you're just going to kill O-Block members for not sliding? Well, it's a little bit more complicated than that, because it's like there was sort of these internal beefs going on. You know, I don't know how much you know about it, but Munna Duke had basically got with the baby mother of Dirk's brother, D-Thang, who passed away. And then, like, some people were saying maybe he was kind of rubbing that in his face a little bit. So it's like, it had gotten incredibly personal. And then you've kind of got these, like, O-Block guys that they're not really getting fed like the OTF guys, because King Von was the one, when King Von was getting the bag, he was feeding the streets, all the O-Block guys. I mean, they're saying that really all that money that he dished out, that's what let them get the FPG duck hit done, because it's like King Von was funding and managing the block so well that they was able to go and do all of this stuff. But it's like, then that money's getting cut off, then they're bitter, and then there's friction between OTF. So I feel like when you layer in all these like little squabbles that were going on, and then there's like sects within O-Block that aren't getting on with each other, and then there's other murders that are going on related to other things, FBG cash murders going on. So it's like, I feel like if you really drill into it and like learn all the little backstory and the little squabbles that were going on, of like, you know, they were saying Dirk was banned from his hood for like, he couldn't go back to Lamron. There were guys in Lamron he was beefing. Then it's in the paperwork that he was saying he texted this guy Lamron, was it Lamron Richie, and was like, yeah, I got him hunting you. Like, you better keep your ski mask on. And so it's like, he got guys, his own original crew hood where he's from, that he's then beefing with, and they're saying, he's texting them saying, I got OTF hunting you right now. So it's like, I think his whole situation had gotten incredibly complicated. And like you say, drunk with power, I think it was to the point where he had, like, imagine this, man. It's like, I had my little altercation with Central Cee, you know, everything was cool. But then afterwards, my security's kind of like, oh, you know, if it would have popped off, we would have got busy for you. And it's kind of like, cool. Imagine that times 1,000, and it's like, you're Dirk, and you got these guys that are killers with bodies, and they're like, we're itching to kill for you. Like, you just say the word, like, we want to kill, like, we want to slide for Von, like, say the word, get the drop, like, you know, we can't get to Quando. Let's go and kill somebody from his crew that's not sliding. Like, we ruthless. Like, that's the impression that I get from reading all the paperwork and having watched just everything that has gone on from all these different guys. So I just feel like, I just wonder when, my personal view is that like when it actually goes to trial, I think there's going to be so much, they got all the iCloud. And this is the funny thing as well I want to address, because people are saying, oh, the state aren't going to use the iCloud messages from Dirk. Everyone's saying that's a win. But the actual paperwork, it says we don't need to use his iCloud. If he sent messages to other people, we don't need his iCloud. He's sending messages to other people who are cooperating, who are giving us the phone and giving us context to everything. So I feel like, forget the iCloud, I think so much internal workings of how OTF was running is going to come out of trial. And I think it might end up looking a lot like Mexican Mafia. Like, they was really Dirk really running a hard line, and so hurt about what happened to his brother D-Thang and what happened to Von, that like, he wanted blood for a lot of stuff that was going on. So I feel like when this trial happens, I think it's January that it's set for, I think there's going to be so much. I've been warning people, like, the stuff that's going to come out in trial, I think it's going to just be crazy, because we're getting these little, you know, oh, the 2021 shooting had something to do with Dirk. Everyone's mind's blown, but I've been knowing that. So I don't think people are ready for what's going to come out of the trial.
Well, yeah, and he can't really plead out. You're talking about a murder for hire. At this point, multiple murders for hire. There is no pleading out. It's either life or you beat it.
Yeah, I think they're saying they're not going to push for the death penalty, which like is, I guess, really a win in the grand scheme of things, because you could get the death penalty in California, as far as I'm aware.
Well, no, it's not a California case. It's a state case. Sorry, it's a Fed case.
Oh, but can you get a death penalty on a Fed case?
I believe so. Let me see.
Because I remember that they were trying to give Draco the rule of the death penalty, but that wasn't a Fed case.
Yes, you can get the death penalty in a federal case, but it's only applicable for a limited number of serious federal crimes and requires specific circumstances. To pursue a death sentence, a prosecutor must file a notice of intent and prove the existence of at least one aggravating factor, such as committing murder during another serious crime or having a prior history of serious violent offenses. The Attorney General also has to prove the decision to seek the death penalty as detailed in the Department of Justice's guidelines. So there are certain things you have to get through, but yeah.
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, they're not pushing for that. I suppose they could reach and probably try and fit into one of those, but it's probably not worth it at that point.
Well, Lil Durk's guy, THF BayZoo, was shot and killed recently. I didn't realize that THF stands for Trigger Happy Family.
Yeah, it does. So, man, it's really sad, because I'd followed BayZoo quite closely. He'd even shouted me out in an interview on No Jumper, kind of talking about me doing the King Von serial killer documentary. I really respected BayZoo because I feel like he was somebody from the streets that understood like the notoriety and the attention that you might get from someone like me covering you is really a positive for your career. And, you know, like I say, he touched on it in a No Jumper interview. He kind of said like, you know, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it's sort of along the lines of like, oh, Ross be doing too much, but I kind of, he'd be on point as well. And he kind of bringing attention to what we got going on. So I really respected that. I felt like he was somebody clearly was very smart and he understood like the bird's eye view of what's going on in this drill scene. And I had just done a video about the whole Trigger Happy family like 2 weeks before he passed away. And this has happened to me a couple of times, man, when there's people I've been really interested in. I've done a deep dive and I've done content on them and then they just die like soon after. It's really chilling, man. And I was in Vegas for ComplexCon when I got the news. I believe Remo kind of lined up the BayZoo interview on No Jumper. So he'd spent time with him. He was, you know, friendly with him. Brick Baby's friendly with BayZoo. So we was all just kind of, I'd never met him, but I'd heard good things about him. And I just spent, you know, a whole month digging into his backstory. So yeah, that was just kind of just really sad news to hear. And he was somebody that seemingly kind of gotten out of the streets. You know, he was kind of laying low, I think, after the Dirk case came down because he was really one of Dirk's right-hand men. But that whole Trigger Happy family, man, there were some really serious guys. You know, in that documentary, I break it down. There's so many murders. BayZoo was tied to 3 murders, and he ended up beating 1 murder officially. There's rumors that he was involved in other ones. They're saying people tried to snitch on him. But obviously he didn't end up going down for any of those murders and obviously lost his life. But, you know, it's no secret a lot of people wanted to get BayZoo out the way, and there's probably like 2 or 3 different gangs that probably would have wanted to do that to him. And right now it's still unclear who was responsible. And, you know, the surveillance footage of the murder came out damn near within a few hours of the murder. So we're seeing the footage of people getting killed before the cops are even coming forward with who might have done it. So that's crazy, and it breaks my heart to see that. You know, I don't get off on watching murder footage or anything like that. Like, bro, you see these things and it's like, man, like, you know, Remo's just talking to this guy and, you know, you see the footage and it's just horrible the way people be going out. So, yeah, rest in peace to BayZoo, man. Super sad.
Well, after BayZoo got killed, there was a woman that was connected to the situation got killed?
Yeah, so the rumor on Reddit is that the woman was the baby mama of a rapper from a crew called 757. BA, I believe. So she got killed in a car, and there was a rumor that she had been killed because she backdoored BayZoo. Now, it's then been cleared up, and people are saying, no, it's a case of mistaken identity. She didn't have nothing to do with that. And it's still unclear to me whether people are saying it's a case of mistaken identity. They thought she had something to do with it and killed her, or whether it was a complete mistaken identity of this whole situation had nothing to do with nothing, and people are just bringing it up because of the timing. It happened right after the BayZoo situation. As far as I'm aware, basically the majority of the opinion in Chicago and on Reddits and other people making videos is that wasn't actually the backdoor. It wasn't actually revenge for what had happened. It was an unrelated situation. But again, you know, sometimes things change. You find out more information. Sometimes things are a bit more complicated than it seems. But that's going around. But I don't think that has anything to do with it. But like I say, there's a whole bunch of gangs that might want it to have something to do with BayZoo. You know, he was at war. They were at war with this crew called 051 Young Money. Obviously, he's close with Dirk and OTF. You know, FBG Duck's whole crew, 63rd, St. Lawrence Street. Like, all of those guys would have hated BayZoo. And then, if you know the story about Lil Zay Osama, his crew, they were at war with BayZoo's crew because they were all close. And then somebody from THF stole 2 of Lil Zay Osama's watches. And then Lil Zay Osama was jumping on lives talking about, yeah, 2 of my watches got stolen and 5 people died as a result. And, you know, there was a THF member called TP that got gunned down, and now everybody thinks, oh, that was Zay Osama's crew getting revenge for the watches. So this whole the THF got a whole bunch of different beefs with different crews. You know, they're tapped in with Dirk, but then also Dirk's case has kind of took away some of the support that THF were having, and then they've got these new beefs popping off with former friends. Lil Zay Osama's crew's going to war with them. And he was kind of sneak dissing BayZoo, and then he kind of backtracked and then kind of made a positive post about BayZoo. But yeah, nice. It's super complicated, and that, like I say, the Trigger Happy family, there's a serious crew. So there's been a lot of talk about 20 for 1. Like, there's this catchphrase. I think BayZoo said it in an interview, like, if I die, 20 people gonna die behind me. And a lot of the THF members have been posting, yeah, 20 for 1. We're getting that 20 for 1, and I don't want to see that happen, man. We don't need to see 20 people from the ops side die. And there ain't no way you killing 20 people without losing some of your own members. So that's just, I just hope that doesn't happen, man. But that's the mindset that's going on. They really want to kill 20 people over BayZoo because he was a real big dog. Like they called him, his lyrics calling him the chief of THF, all this kind of thing. So he was a very important person in Chicago.
Well, what's going on with the people that killed him?
What, BayZoo?
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing we don't know. There's all these different people that people think might have something to do with it. I don't think there's been any arrests made. There's the footage that's gone around, but even just, you know, all the guys on Reddit, nobody actually knows. Like, nobody has actually come up with a like, there's one guy called Lil Sam who posted, I think he's called Lil Sam. He posted a clip of himself in the same tracksuit counting a bunch of money afterwards. And people are trying to say, oh, that's him claiming the body. But even then, we've seen this a lot of times where a really high profile murder happens and then someone just fake claims it straight after. So other than that one clip going around, I don't think there's been real, like, substantial. Like, even that clip, I'm kind of like, he could be chasing it. You know, you throw on a Nike Tech, you see the surveillance footage, you throw on a Nike Tech and flex some money, like, you getting a bit of attention on social media now. But it's almost like, bro, you can't, surely you're not that dumb that you would actually do the drill and then take a picture in the tech with the money afterwards and say, we got BayZoo out here. I feel like more likely you saw what was going on and you were like, okay. Because that's happened a couple of times with rappers. I don't know if you remember when XXX Tentacion got killed, there was a guy called, I think, Soldier Kid. Like, he posted a pic, like, in the same outfit and then with the same car as the shooters had, like, afterwards, just for some clout. And it kind of worked. And his career got supercharged, then they found out he ain't have nothing to do with it. But so it's really not conclusive who did that to BayZoo yet. Yeah.
Crazy. Well, you did a documentary on the many murders of Munna Duke.
Yeah.
And this story is wild. So what's the gist of the story, essentially?
Yeah, so Munna Duke was kind of a very notorious member of the O Block gang. He was one of King Von's right-hand man. He's got that famous lyric. He says, King Von, take Duke on a hit. He like King Kong. And there's a bunch of other lyrics where it's like he's shouting out Duke and being like, yo, Duke, like, this is the guy. He's a shooter. He be catching bodies with Duke, all this kind of thing, okay? And so there's been a few different rumors of murders that he might have been involved in. When T. Roy, who was King Von's best friend, got killed, they basically created this thing called Get Back Gang in his honor. And it was basically just like, this is like a new subset of O Block Gang where we're just ruthlessly getting back for T. Roy. We're just going to kill everyone. Anyone that even had a sniff of anything to do with T. Roy's death, we're hunting you down. And, you know, story goes is that Munna Duke was heavily involved in the Get Back Gang. He was part of some of those hits where people got killed. So, you know, soon after, he'd been rumored to have been involved in a couple of different hits that were going down for Get Back Gang. And obviously he ended up losing his life, you know, out for a little birthday party with some other O Block members. And yeah, it's just kind of like, he was a notorious figure. And, you know, there's a lot of King Von lyrics where he's referencing Duke, and, you know, Duke was kind of known. I mean, he had I think it was him, he had a famous viral clip where, like, some vloggers went to go and film, like, a vlog at O Block, and he, like, confiscated their camera. So he was kind of known for being very respected, very feared in the streets. The news described him as the leader of O Block when he died, which, I mean, probably not too many people other than maybe Boss Top that really have that, you know, Boss Top, BJ, like, people that really been around since the start of O Block. Munna Duke was really a day one, you know, legendary guy from over there, was really close with King Von. And again, he got gunned down. And it's a similar thing to BayZoo. There's like 2-3 different gangs that people think might have had something to do with it. It's still not been solved. There's been all kind of speculation as to who might have wanted to have something to do with it. And some people are speculating, I don't know if I really believe this, but some people have speculated that maybe Dirk had something to do with it. Because, you know, you're seeing in this paperwork, we want to kill O Block members for not sliding for Von. Munna Duke was dating the widow of Dirk's brother. And they were having a baby together. So some people say Dirk didn't have a problem with that. Some people said maybe that, like, maybe he was doing that a little bit to rub it in Dirk's face, some people have said, or the other way around. Some people have said, oh, you know, Dirk was cool with it, but then as time went on and O Block and OTF weren't cool anymore. So there was, like, some low-key tension going on. And I'm not going to say, oh, yeah, Dirk's crew did that. But it's like there's Dirk's crew, then there's, like, other crews that O Block were having beef with. Then there's these, like, internal beefs going on with O Block. It could have been FBG Duck's crew sliding for Duck and Cash. You know, there's. I think these guys are in so deep right now that it's like every time somebody dies, it's like there's damn near 4 or 5 different people that could have easily wanted to do that, and that's probably making it hard for the police because they're looking into these situations and it's like, bro, damn near 3 hoods wanted to kill this guy, and he was, you know, King Von's right-hand man. He's referencing all these songs, and there's 3-4 murders that he might have had something to do with. So, yeah, Chicago police got a difficult couple cases on their hands with all of these. But again, it's the same thing of like they were partying downtown. They weren't in the South Side. They were in a nice area and like high-end restaurant, having drinks at the bar, and then somebody just camped out, found them, and just shot the whole thing up outside. And it's just super sad, man. And yeah, O-Block just, yeah, it's like, it's so sad to see the kind of fall from grace, and that's no disrespect, but it's just like from where O-Block was when King Von was outside. Like, O-Block was the hot crew in hip-hop, drill, music. Like, it was like everyone wanted to be cool with O-Block, everyone wanted to be cool with OTF. King Von had the biggest motion. Like, I feel like people forget, like, when King Von was alive and he was releasing music, he was releasing his album, he was having motion like nobody I'd ever seen in the scene. Like, I always say, like, King Von and Pooh Shiesty, they had motion for drill rap like nobody will ever have again. Like, them golden ages, Von and Shiesty going back to back, it was just unmatched. So, you know, for everything to have gone the way it did for O-Block, it is really sad to see. And like, yeah, you know, there's cool new up and coming rappers that are coming out of O-Block. We've got like Munna Duke and stuff. So I feel like O-Block could definitely have a resurgence, but yeah, it's just so sad. But that's kind of what comes with the beef, you know. I mean, Von was allegedly responsible for 7 murders. Like, all of that stuff was eventually going to come back around. I mean, even the Duck hit, Von died before he could get justice. But all of those guys, Muwop was having motion as a rapper, but you want to get like 55 years or something like that. You know, all of those guys, like, it just goes to show on a long enough timeline, even Dirk, like, OTF was the hottest thing in rap for a good couple of years, and now really them OTF artists ain't getting no support. Dirk's probably spending a lot of money on lawyer fees. You know, unfortunately, BayZoo passed away. Like, if none of that had ever happened, you know, BayZoo might have been the next King Von as far as going hard in music. I thought BayZoo was a good rapper. You know, him and King Von, like, they did their first songs together. That song, Beat That Body, was a legendary song where BayZoo and King Von had both beaten bodies and come out, and then Dirk, like, got them in the studios, like, you guys beat bodies, like, make a song about it. And that was, like, a legendary song. But obviously, you know, all of that stuff caught up with them, and I think that's difficult. It's like you got all these different beefs, and now when people are dying, it's like, bro, it could be these guys, could be those guys, could be these. It's so yeah. Hopefully, the police do get to the bottom of it and give people closure.
You did a whole feature on Top5 and GGG, the Go Get 'Em gang. What's interesting is that Top5 actually texted me this morning and said, let's do this interview. But I've gotten like 3 texts like this at this point in a conversation. Because as some of you may know, I was supposed to do a Top5 interview. He asked for $6,000 to do the interview. I said, cool, but he wanted $3,000 up front, which I really never do. But we were on the phone multiple times on FaceTime. He assured me that he's doing it. So I sent him the deposit. He continued to FaceTime me every day leading up to the day of the interview. So I felt confident that it was actually going to happen. It's not like he took the money then just disappeared. So we booked the studio. We hired the cameraman. And then on the day of the interview, he just completely disappeared. Completely disappeared. So I had done an interview. Well, when I interviewed Wack, I had Wack interview me and talk about this. But then, like, he hit me up like right after, like right before the interview dropped. I was like, yo, we're going to do this. We're going to do this. It didn't happen. So I put the interview out. And then, like, for example, people like Danza Project reached out to me and he was like, yo, the exact same thing happened to me.
No way.
Yeah. He flew out to Toronto and on the day of the interview, he just disappeared. Same kind of thing. So, and this is why it's important to put out stuff like this, right? Because other content creators who are working with, you know, the top 5s of the world need to know that, hey, these guys don't really do good business. Like, you ran off for $3,000. I basically was like, I'm not going to do nothing about it. I'm not going to sue you. I'm not going to press charges, whatever. You could take that. It's cool. I'll make it back on content. But it's just ridiculous because now you're seeing multiple stories come out and you're going to lose a lot more than $3,000 because people like me are putting this out there. And it's true. What are you going to say? That's not true. He never paid me? No, I gave him the money. It's cool. You can have it. Like I said, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not telling on you. I'm not suing you. It's cool. You can have it. It's only $3,000. But like I said, when every so often, yo, let's do it. But then like he won't follow up with the actual this date, this time. I'm not going to pay him anymore. The back end is gone, right? That's gone. But I don't know, man. What's your take on that whole situation?
Man, I was super disappointed when I heard that.
Because it would have been a big interview. Everyone would have tuned into that.
It was going to be his comeback.
It was going to be his biggest interview ever. Let's just keep it 100, top 5. This was going to be your biggest interview ever. Well, I mean, the Kanye interview was pretty big. So
I think this would have been bigger.
You think it would have been bigger than the Kanye interview? When he put on the swastika chain? That was pretty big.
Yeah, because I feel like that was shadow banned, and also myself and a lot of other people ain't trying to hear what Kanye has to say with no swastika chain on.
All right, fair enough.
It's like, I feel like this would have actually been a more polished, clean, mainstream look for him. And I've got a good relationship with Top 5, and when I told him in the lead up to that, yo, this Vlad interview is going to be a good look. Because I'd been on the phone with him after he had the incident, and I was just sending him well wishes, just being like, yo, look, you're going to bounce back. We're going to get back to the content, man. Like, glad you're recovering well. He was trying to set up an interview with Adam because you saw the interview with Adam drop, but that was before the incident. So he was trying to line up a part 2 with Adam. I was saying you got to do Vlad. I'm not saying I'm responsible, but it's like I had little conversations with him here and there, and I had a good relationship with him. And I was telling him like, yo, you got to pop out, do these interviews. This is gonna be a great look for you. And so when you told me that he didn't turn up to the interview, I was super disappointed because I'd spoken to him. He's like, yeah, I'm doing Vlad in whatever, a couple days.
Right, no, like leading up to it. Listen, I understand people run off with money. But he was literally every day FaceTiming me. So we were all under the impression that it's going to happen.
So was I. So, well, when that happened, I texted him afterwards, and I texted you because I'd said, man, like, you did Vlad dirty. Like, you got to put that right, man. Because, like, I'd like what you're saying to him is like, bro, these are like good relationships. That would have been the perfect comeback for you. That's what you need. Then you can get back to the music and the streaming. And he was like, yeah, I hear it. I'm going to put it right. So then you remember I texted you and I was like, look, Top 5 said he's going to put it right. Like, unfortunately, he was gassing it up, and that was disappointing too. Because I was thinking like, oh, maybe I can be part of just setting this thing right and helping it. But you totally within your rights. If someone did that to me, it'd be like, bro, ain't no fixing that. Like, you blacklisted.
Well, the problem is that let's just say we reschedule it. I have to get another studio and another cameraman, and then he doesn't show up again. Now I'm another couple $1,000s in the hole. Because really, I lost about $5,000 if you really think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on him. Like, or shame on you. Yeah. Anyway, like, it just is really disappointing because I feel like that would have been really good momentum for him. Now, I did have a little bit of sympathy for him just because, look, he just got his neck cut. He's going through a lot. I know that the beef going on in Toronto is pretty serious. I know he lost a friend a little while before all that happened. And I'm not making excuses for him, but I feel like what I had hoped at the time is like maybe just some crazy shit had gone down that day and like he had just dropped the ball and he didn't really mean it. But I guess the way things developed from there weren't so good. I got love for Top 5. I want to see him do well. I know that a year has passed since his case got dropped, so he can't get charged again. So he kind of is like good on the murder now. And I feel like he needs to focus on like building his career up as a streamer. I've tapped into a couple of his live streams. I've called into one of his streams that he was doing. And I really feel like you were saying with Tekashi, I feel like Top 5 is somebody that I was hoping that he would sort of take this route and leave the streets behind, get into this streaming lane, get into this content thing and show people, yo, you can leave that behind and do this positive thing. But yeah, no, that definitely was the wrong move. And, I got love for Top 5. I got love for Presser. I know there's a whole beef between them. I interviewed Presser for ComplexCon. Super, super nice guy. Rock with Presser. I love his music. And, it's just so sad to have seen what's happened as somebody that supported Toronto music and Toronto drill and, covered Presser and his brother Boondog, who's just like legendary Toronto rapper and kind of street legend. Top 5, them having this whole situation where they scammed this guy allegedly Julian out of millions of dollars, and like they got this crazy life story that's just insane. And I really just want to see everybody from that city win. But I know it's more complicated than that, so it's not as easy as just everyone squashing it, and things have definitely gone too far now. But yeah, that was just disappointing for me because I actually support Top 5, even though he is difficult and he causes a lot of problems for people. I feel like deep down, he's like a Tekashi of Toronto. He's wilding. He's wild.
Tekashi of Toronto.
Not personality-wise, that's why I feel like I'm seeing
without the cooperation, of course.
without the cooperation as well. But like 6ix9ine's got his excuses for that. So, but it's like I feel like their energy is very similar, and like I see 6ix9ine. He was in my interview. I think he was in yours as well, talking about like, oh, Top5 got his head cut off. They had to sew his head back onto his body or whatever, being mad disrespectful. But it's like that's the type of troll shit to like Top5 would say about someone else. 6ix9ine and Top5 would probably be the best of friends. Like, if we could somehow squash that beef and get them to make content together, that would be legendary. Sometimes it's like you find two guys and it's like they're so similar. It's like they're too similar. They just hate each other.
Yeah.
So,
look, man, I'll just say this to Top5 because I know he's going to listen to this. I know that certain people, and I've dealt with people like this, they come from a culture of scamming, right? Where you somehow feel good about yourself because you got over on someone for a certain amount of money. I've been ripped off before. I've told the story of how I got ripped off for a kilo of cocaine, and it was like $17,000, and the guy probably felt like, oh, I got Vlad. But in the long run, Vlad became a multimillionaire, and he's still back in the Bay Area. I looked him up. He's not doing much, you know? So had you not done that, Vlad could have taken you along for the ride because you was like Vlad's best friend at that point. So I don't know whether like Top5's instincts took over, like, oh, I could take this guy for 3,000 and somehow this is a win in my book. But it's not a win. It's not a win because I can guarantee you, like I said, Danza called me right away. It was like, yo, this dude did the same thing to me. So now this story gets compounded. This guy rips off podcasters. What's the point of that? What's the point of that? You're not going to get any more down payments on interviews. They're going to be like, nah, you're going to do me like Vlad. Why would I do that? In fact, I don't want to do it at all. You're going to lose more than 3,000. And that's the whole thing. You got to look at life long term. You actually have a potential because of your association with Drake and everything else like that. Did he claim that he was Drake's shooter?
yeah.
So he actually said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said it multiple times.
Multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times. That's been known. Like, him calling himself Drake Shooter is like legendary. That's like legendary viral moment from like before Top5 went to jail the first time. Like, he would be on hella streams with academics talking about I'm Drake Shooter. He's a troll though. That's the thing. He knows, like, is he Drake shoot? He would shoot if Drake needed someone shot real quick. He would definitely do it. But I don't think he's actually. I feel like that's like a viral thing that he's doing. He's a shooter that's with Drake. You could say he's Drake Shooter. Like, I don't think he's really. There's been rumors because there was a rumor that he was the one that shot up the Weeknd's house or the Weeknd's manager's house for Drake. He was actually locked up when that went down, so it's not true. But I feel like even it's like a funny meme for him to be like, yeah, I slid on the Weeknd for you or whatever. But it's like that's not really what's happening, as far as I'm aware. But yeah, I agree with you, man. I just feel like it's unfortunate because a lot of people would, metaphorically, a lot of people would kill for a Vlad interview, you know? So it's like for him to even get off on you for 3,000, it's like he would have got another 3,000 and he would have got the Vlad interview, which was really more valuable.
He didn't get his back end. So the fact that you didn't just show up that day and talk for a couple hours means that you lost an extra 3,000. It doesn't really make sense to me, but sometimes you just deal with people, they're just not logical. It doesn't matter. They'll do things that hurt themselves and you just can't figure out why. But then again, I'm a business person and not everyone is a business person. People function off of emotion and so forth. And maybe at that moment, I don't know. But
the most forgiving answer that I could give for that is that obviously that was really traumatic what he went through getting his neck cut. And
no, but we had been talking every day up to that point. It's not like, hey, I'm in the hospital and I can't really talk. Let's just push the interview back a month while I heal up. No, he was talking completely regularly.
No, but I'm coming at it more from a point of view. He hadn't popped out. I don't think he'd been seen, and I don't think he had been on camera since the incident at that point. This is just like my most forgiving way that I can give it of just like maybe he really just got cold feet, anxiety, just on some shit of like, bro, I don't know if I'm ready to pop out and talk about this. Maybe you're dealing with the trauma. I did notice when he did one of his live streams, he always popping it, dissing the ops, saying all this stuff, I'm Drake Shooter. But there was a moment on one of his first live streams back when he was at Dave & Buster's where he actually was like, oh, I'm going to talk about the stabbing. And I felt like his voice kind of cracks, and you can tell he going through some trauma talking about that. And it's like he talked about it real quick, and then he kind of moved on. But it's like, I'm quite observant when it comes to this stuff. I felt like that little 2 minutes where he talked about the stabbing on stream, I could see he was emotionally affected by it. And I feel like maybe it was some shit where it's like that. He'd been on camera a couple times in the lead up to that, but it's like, the most sensitive out there excuse that I could give for him was that like maybe it really was some shit where he just was thinking, bruh, I'm not ready to talk about this shit today. Like maybe that day came too quick. He just couldn't even get it. He couldn't even bring himself to tell you like, bruh, I'm going through trauma right now. I can't even bring myself to get on camera and talk about this. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too friendly to the guy, but yeah, I was disappointed because I wanted to see that happen, and I want nothing but the best for him, nothing but the best for Presser and all of them. Like I just want to see Canada win. I admire the city. Like I love Toronto music. Like there's been hella Toronto rappers that I've liked over the years. You know, your Houdinis. Obviously, I rock with YG. You know, just been so many people that have lost their lives over there. That have built up that scene. So yeah, it's sad to see them all beefing like that, and for Top 5 to go out that way. But yeah, who knows, man? Maybe you know, if he has a real big viral moment, and maybe it might be worth your while. Maybe it'll still happen one day.
NLE Choppa dissed NBA Youngboy on the song KO. You called him an embarrassing hypocrite.
I did, man. You tapped in. That was recent, for sure.
Yeah. Listen, I know NLE Choppa. We did an interview. We had like some online beef, and we squashed it right here in this room, which I thought was great. To me, intelligent young man, great career. The KO, you know, song doesn't seem like it's really going anywhere. Bro, I'm looking right now, it's at 2 million views, which is really low for Choppa.
Youngboy's the guy right now. What are you doing hopping out trying to diss Youngboy like that? Youngboy has got it. Youngboy is selling out stadiums. Everyone's proud of him. This ain't the time for that. And as I said in my video where I called him an embarrassing hypocrite, you talking about you poisoning the youth. Your most popular song is Walk 'Em Down. Like, you done poison the youth. And then you on Twitter talking about I can cure cancer. You got CMOS gel that's going to cure cancer. Yeah, you poisoning it.
This is why
Youngboy's poisoning the youth.
This is why we were going back and forth. Like,
bro,
over the. I called him a snake oil salesman.
Bro, I feel like snake oil probably better for you than the shit he's selling. He doing CMOS gel. He trying to realign your chakras. It's all well and good selling snake oil, right? There's a few people selling snake oil out here. But like, he be on there doing the Dr. Sebi thing, talking about, oh, I can cure cancer. He's got a tweet where he's like, oh, I'm so blessed. Like, somebody's just let me know that my advice, like my healing has helps them get over cancer. It's like, bro, you delusional.
Yeah, this is what me and him are going back and forth. But you know something? He ultimately took responsibility for it. Because what I did was, when we first sat down, I had a recording from an actual medical doctor that we work with, who basically commented on this whole thing. I said, listen, me and you could argue all day long. Neither one of us are doctors, right? We both have about the same medical experience. So I brought an actual doctor, and he said, listen, some of the stuff he talks about herbs, yeah, there is some help and so forth, but, you know, in terms of curing a serious disease, you know, herbs and flowers and, you know, gels aren't really going to do that. And he understood. He goes, listen, if I got sick, I would go to the hospital. I wouldn't just sit there and throw some, you know, ginseng on me. Like, I get it, but, you know, I also believe in certain things. And it was actually a good conversation, and we hugged it out afterwards. It was a dope interview. I think it was his biggest interview ever.
I mean, I like NLE Choppa's music. I'm a big fan of his music. Like, Final Warning is a jam. Like, I used to run that song back to back in the car. Like, he's hard, but it's like, he's definitely misguided. I feel like he's somebody that, like, he's somebody, and it's going to sound disrespectful. I'm not trying to disrespect him, but it's like, he's somebody I think he really loves the attention. I think he's doing this Youngboy thing for attention, and he's not realizing, like, there's good attention and bad attention. It ain't the time to be dissing Youngboy. It looks hypocritical because you done released so many songs about walking people down and, you know, giving final warning that you're going to shoot people, all this stuff, like all this different Chopper talk, like you poisoning the youth just as much as he is. And really, Youngboy ain't poisoning the youth because he's actually a role model now, and he's basically showing people how you can overcome these difficult struggles that you've been through in the streets and be an amazing star and sell out stadiums and do positive stuff and get off the drugs and set yourself straight. Youngboy a role model right now. So I'm not trying to hear NLE Choppa talking about KO, you poisoning the youth. You done your bit to poison the youth. Why don't you go make some uplifting music rather than just trying to tear this man down? Because really, you jealous. Youngboy got it right now, bro. Like, we ain't checking for NLE Choppa right now. And we definitely ain't checking for you with the Tupac cosplay on, doing a fake execution of Youngboy. Like, that's you putting negative shit out there in a video, calling someone else out for doing negative stuff. And Youngboy making better music than you right now, bro. So you need to go back to the drawing board with that one.
Well, you know what's funny is that when we were going back and forth, I called him a fake NBA Youngboy. And I kind of put the pictures right next to each other because they had the same haircut at one point. And basically, I remember it was like people like, oh shit, Vlad just ratioed Choppa because that reply ended up getting more than the actual real tweet. I think he got like 1 million impressions and so forth. But my whole thing is, look, Choppa is a cool dude, man. He's got a nice catalog. He's got a real fan base. I didn't think it was necessary. And the numbers show that people aren't really gravitating towards it. He had like billboards and stuff for this. Like he was really trying to push this. He has a music video for it. He has like a guy pretending to be NBA Youngboy, a character that he, that's playing.
He must have thought when he made that, he was thinking, I got one.
Oh, he thought this is
about to go crazy.
Hit him up.
I'm going to be selling out the tour. I'm going to be selling out the stadiums. Like you can tell he was feeling himself thinking like, yeah, we got this. And that ain't work out.
It doesn't always work out the way you plan. When you put out content, sometimes, like, look, I knew the Tekashi interview was going to hit. I knew it. But sometimes you put out some shit you think it's going to hit and it just doesn't hit. Right. And this is an example of that.
There's definitely an example of that, man. And I like NLE Choppa. I feel like he should just go back to the drawing board and just lean back more into himself. Like if you don't want to do the negative stuff, don't come around doing some negative song taking a shot at someone else who's hot right now. Like go and make some positive gangster music, like some inspirational music.
Some positive gangster music.
That song that he's got Picture Me Graping, I don't know if you know that song. That's like another kind of another sort of Tupac reinterpretation. Clearly he's obsessed with Tupac. He wants to be Tupac. Fair play. Like Tupac's cool. But like
a lot of people do.
A lot of people do, man.
And he's not the only one.
And for you probably don't want to be Tupac because that Tupac story didn't necessarily go the best way. So I feel like he should get back in his more positive Tupac bag, make some more uplifting, get to shooting at the cops like Tupac was doing,
Or not.
No, I'm joking.
Or not.
No, but that is a joke. But what I'm more trying to say is that Tupac's whole thing was I'm uplifting the community. When he shot at those cops, he was trying to defend a black guy he felt that was being harassed by the cops,
I know
right?
the story.
So it's like NLE, go and make some inspirational, go and make some like uplifting, inspirational music for the community and prove why you doing the more positive stuff than Youngboy's doing, rather than just trying to tear Youngboy down because he got it right now. And it's like, I rock with NLE Choppa. He's hard, but it's like when he does stuff like this, it makes him seem kind of quite immature and just like it knocks him off his pivot because I feel like he's got a great catalog, but he probably doesn't get the respect he deserves for how good his catalog is. But stuff like this and all the CMOS curing cancer stuff, like that's an L. And I don't think he realizes, like, to your little community of people that just eat up everything you say, like you really convince yourself you're curing cancer, but like from the outside, like you look like a clown, and like that's actually damaging. Like trying to convince people that CMOS is going to cure their cancer rather than real treatment, like you actually causing problems to the community, man. Like stop.
Well, you did some videos on the whole David situation with the underage girl that was found dead in his Tesla. I feel like that story just hasn't been updated at all. Is it a dead case?
So I follow a whole bunch of different Reddit communities that follow David, and what's interesting is since this started, like there's been a lot of these Reddit communities kind of popping up and then getting shut down or going dormant. Everybody right now has been posting on these Reddit communities, is there an update? There's been no updates. There's nothing new for weeks. It's been absolutely silent, okay? And I feel like in the first few weeks after it happened, there was like a huge flurry of information. I probably did like over 10 videos, just all the different things that everyone was looking into. And at a certain point, it seemed to go super quiet. Apparently, I'm hearing, they're saying on Reddit, I don't know how true this is, but they're saying that maybe the toxicology report might be available in the next couple of weeks, and then that might lead to an update. But things have gone super quiet, and it's a lot of people are asking that question of why hasn't David been arrested, because it seems so likely, so plausible for things to point towards him doing it. But realistically, and I think you said this too, if they had evidence that he killed that girl, he would have been arrested.
100%.
So clearly they don't have evidence that he did that.
100%. A judge signing off on that? I mean, it's not like they're convicting him. They could put together a grand jury and say, listen, we think that he killed her because here's all the reasons. Clearly, they don't have the reasons. They don't have the proof. The fact that you know someone and they're underage, that definitely could be problematic. It definitely could be illegal. But to then jump to you murdering that person, it could have been anything. It could have been, listen, he's messing with this underage girl and she's like, I'm gonna go on the shade room and I'm gonna expose you and your career is gonna be ruined. And someone who's completely relying on David for all their income is like, I gotta handle this problem or else I'm out of work.
Do you not feel like that's a little bit more far-fetched than the guy who's actually on the hook for dating an underage girl doing it, though?
But there's no police arrest.
No, but there's also, it's like, I agree with you.
There's no police. It's his car. It's his car. He knows her. There's videos of them together. Mm-hmm. She's underage. There's a lot to point to arresting this person and figuring it out later. Mm-hmm. Seriously, why not?
I agree with you. I think everybody's super confused now.
Because let me just interrupt you real quick. The police even said this is a very complicated case. Mm-hmm. So they're saying we're struggling with this.
I'm not going to lie, man. The dead body in the trunk, leave it there for a few months. That might be the new method. Like, I guess you hide the body, you conceal the body in a place where it's not going to be touched for a period of time. It decomposes in a way that's making it very difficult. They can't seem to prove how she died, where she died, when she died. If they can't get to the bottom of this, like, I don't know. I feel like we're going to be seeing a lot more bodies being found in trunks at tow yards because I was under the belief, call me crazy.
Wait, was that a tow yard or on the street? I thought it was on the street.
No, it got towed from the street and then they discovered the smell in the tow yard.
Yeah, okay, got it.
I was under the impression, bro, that if someone found a body in my car parked outside right now, I'm going to jail. I'm not going home. Like, I was under the impression that, like, I don't go home and chill and go back to playing Fortnite until y'all straighten that out. But apparently that's not the case. And that's why I'm saying this is the new method. Because it's like, now it's like this. I didn't know that there was a loophole that if the body's just left in the car for a period of time, they can't do anything about it. But I guess they can't prove where she died. They can't prove when she died. They can't even prove how she got into that trunk.
She wasn't pregnant.
She wasn't pregnant. That's
what the theory was. Oh, okay, he got her pregnant and he had to kill her, or else I'm going to prison for 30 years for statutory rape. But
it's weird how, like, it seems like if she was pregnant, it seems like everyone would just be like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. Then he would have killed her to get rid of the baby. But it's like, she don't need to be pregnant for. It's like, yo, if you're really in a relationship with a 14-year-old that you allegedly met when she was like 11, don't need to be pregnant for you to want to get rid of that problem. But totally agree with you. For the record, I think the LAPD, if they had something, they would have swooped in. I think the new theory that's going around now is that there was a group of people that were involved in this. There's just a theory. This is not even my opinion. This is just theories that I've been seeing, so I'm not even vouching for this. But there's new theories going around that there's basically like 2 or 3 guys in his circle that kind of maybe had something to do with this, and that they kind of all knew what was going on, and certain people were moving the car. And I think there's a rumor that there's some surveillance footage of the car being moved and somebody else being in the car, and the car's being driven around with all the windows down or something. So there's like a few different things that have come out, and there's this private investigator, I think he's called Steve Fisher, who basically, he was kind of one of the first people to kind of comment on this as a private investigator. He's apparently been retained by the owner of the rented property. The car was found outside. Yeah. And so he's now put out a few interesting things where he's basically, some people are saying that he's clout chasing. Other people are saying that, nah, he's one of the only people really trying to get to the bottom of this now. But he basically put a very cryptic message out recently to say he basically recovered items from the property that were left behind by the LAPD, and that he described it as sadistic. I think he described it as sadistic items. And now there's been all this debate about what these items are. There'd been reports, people were saying it was farming equipment. He's denied that. But basically what seems to be hinted at is Steve seems to be suggesting that there were items at the property that could have been used to get rid of or destroy a body. And I think the angle that he was putting out there, I believe, if I remember correctly, was that basically he was suggesting that it could have been a plan to get rid of the body, but they didn't have time to do it before this tour started, and then the body got found in the car. But bro, like, something has to happen. We can't, the LAPD can't just be like, oh, well, like someone's got to, bro, like, a 14-year-old kid dead, like something, bro, someone's got to do something.
Well, you could say that, but then Draco the Ruler was killed in a backstage at a concert with what seemed like dozens and dozens of people.
On camera,
and cold case. So it happens.
I do have this feeling recently, though, because I feel like there's been a lot of situations like that, but I feel like what's happening more and more is it's like, especially with all this digital evidence, like the wheels of justice move very slowly, but they do move. And it's like, I feel like, I mean, even the Dirk thing, Dirk was running around like he got away with it for like 2 years, and then murder for hire charges. And like a lot of people were like, oh, I didn't see that coming. But it's like, a lot of people did see that coming. You know, the FBG Duck situation, all of those guys, Moowop, all of them were all making songs dissing him for like, what, a year and a half? Thinking like, we good, like nothing's happening to us. We're good, like we're just living our lives. So I do feel like on a long enough timeline, I sure hope that this gets solved. Even if it wasn't David, if they haven't got, you know what I'm saying? Just as an outsider, it looks very bad for him. And
yeah, he canceled his tour, obviously.
Canceled his tour, moved house.
Yeah.
Left the city.
Yeah, I think put like his house in his mom's name, like hired a lawyer.
Gone quiet, quit his own subreddit.
Yeah.
All type of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel like the David thing is just going back. Like I did a long video where I basically deep dived all of his music catalog because I wasn't that familiar with him. I definitely heard the name and seen a couple of songs, but like I digged into his whole catalog before, and I just felt like there was so much sick, twisted imagery in his music that, at least as somebody that just is like quite adept at analyzing music and art, there was so much stuff in there that just seemed twisted. Like he's got this whole thing of white roses and blood stains on white roses now. White roses, you know, white wedding dress, like all that shit, you know what that symbolizes, you know, purity, virginity, all this weird stuff, blood splattered on a white rose. I saw all of that and I was just like, bro, this guy's twisted. That's not proof of anything.
Well,
Completely
his
agree.
biggest song is Romantic Homicide, so, you know, there's that. But that doesn't mean you're guilty.
And he got one lyric where he's like, save your tears 7 years. And like at the time she would have been 11 and that would have been the year they met.
Okay, that's...
Bro, this is what I'm saying. I looked at all this stuff and I'm like, yo, like no one's been arrested over this? Like, really? Like,
I mean, listen, you and I have had these conversations, and you know, like for example, when you got into it with Wack, you know, you and I had to talk, and you're like, oh, and Wack did this, and Wack did that, and I'm like, nope, didn't do that, nope, didn't do that, nope, I know the real story behind that. That never happened. And so there's lots of stuff out there where it looks good on the internet. There's all types of Reddit conversations. It's big on, you know, TikTok and whatever. There's popular videos. Doesn't mean any of it's true.
I agree.
It just doesn't. It just doesn't, because I know a lot of these people, and I actually could have conversations with them and have conversations with people around them, and you see how much nonsense gets out there. You know, like, you know, this is why I had to jump on the whole Glasses Malone situation, because like it was just a false story. It was like saying that that my girl, I caught my girl cheating and I want to kill the guy. I was like, that's just completely not how the story went. It was the exact opposite. I was with a girl and her ex-boyfriend attacked me. So it is just like, it's just not what happened. But the internet will run and create a whole movie out of this shit, and people will run with it. So I don't know, man. At the end of the day, if David did it, I hope he goes to prison forever. And if he didn't do it, then hopefully he'll get vindicated.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I feel like I just want to make it very clear. Like, I can't say right now on this date, David did the murder. I wouldn't say that. I can't say David, I definitely think that I can't say anything for definite, but it looks crazy.
It looks crazy.
Them lyrics look crazy. Their music videos look crazy. The tarpaulin with all the bloodstained shirts that he's got for his merch. Like, his merch is bloodstained white shirts. That looks crazy, bro.
Right.
That's like Lil Durk having some merch that's like, you know what I mean? Like a murder for hire contract or something. Like, what the hell? Like, science, you know what I'm saying? Like, you get your novelty Lil Durk murder for hire contract or something. I don't know. Just, it's unbelievable, but I feel like that's why these stories have picked up so much attention. That's why I think me covering the David story has been so big, because it's like, my whole thing is just like, I'm very good at research. I'm very good at finding these things that are crazy, that are hidden, that are deep. Like, I'm good at noticing things. Maybe sometimes I probably notice things too much. I probably read into certain things that maybe don't add up in the end. But like, I like to just, especially now that I'm doing my second channel, like, I feel like the big difference between my main channel and my second channel is like, my second channel is unscripted. It's basically you're joining me while I do the research, rather than I'm presenting the research that I did in a documentary. And so it's like, you know, a lot of people hate, they're like, all you do is read Reddit comments, but it's like, it's not all I do. But at the same time, it's like, that's what I'm doing on the second channel. It's kind of like, join me while I read this crazy David lyric that you're not going to believe. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but also it's like, bro, he said that, like, that's crazy. Let's sit together and read through this Durk paperwork. Oh my God, can you believe what we're seeing here? So, you know, I feel like I'm trying to have the conversations that people will be having amongst themselves, as far as like, you know, oh my God, can you believe David said this? Can you believe this happened? I can't say 100% definitively sure that David did it, but I do want to find out. And that's really just, I think it'll be one of these things where it's like how you get this thing where it's like rappers snitched on themselves. I mean, last time I came here, I brought my Dirk files. I was telling you about that Loyal Bros album that came out a few months after the Dirk alleged murder for hire. You know, I don't know what's going to happen with the David case or the Dirk case, but it's one of those things where it's like people might look back and say like, oh no, like he was wilding. He really left all those clues. Or he might be there. And there might be a perfect other excuse for what happened that's crazy but true, and when that comes out, we're going to take that apart as well and work that out. I think in the David case, it's funny because it was a narrative that was spread quite early on that I didn't really want to believe, but now people are pushing it more and it's getting more traction that her family might have had something to do with it. When people first started saying that, I was like, I feel like it's mad disrespectful. Pointing the finger at the family is like super not right. But now the private investigators putting it out there saying, well, it seems like some of her relatives maybe went to a concert with David and the girl, and maybe it was all okay. This is allegedly what other people are saying.
Well, she had a bad family situation. I heard about that. Like there was I guess the police were called multiple times to her home with her mom or dad or both or whatever. So this was not your typical teenage girl who comes from a stable background. I think she was like a runaway and so forth. So there's a lot going on here. It could have been a homeless person. It could have really been a lot of different things. But ultimately, I hope they solve it, and I hope she gets justice.
For sure, man.
I've been saying that.
Justice for Celeste, man, for sure. DJ Vlad, man, welcome to VladTV.
Hi, I'm already here, yeah.
For sure. So, man, I've been waiting a minute to interview you, man. I got a couple of big questions for you. First off, man, I've heard you mention a few different interviews here and there, okay, that back way back in the day, probably past the statute of limitations, you was in the dope game, you was touching some bricks.
I wasn't really in the dope game. I had a friend who was a former drug dealer. We went to UC Berkeley together, and I had just watched the movie Deep Cover, so my stupid ass got the impression like, oh, here's like the Jewish guy and the black guy, and we're going to become drug dealers together and grow this whole drug empire. It was really one of the stupidest things I've ever done. So I brought up the idea with him, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. So I gave him $17,000, and he brought a kilo over to my apartment with his son. His son was playing Nintendo in the living room while he cooked up a brick in my kitchen. And he started saying, oh, like, I think there's a problem with this stuff. This isn't what I'm used to. I got to look into this. And then, like, I couldn't reach him for a couple of days. And he was like, oh, yeah, that whole brick ended up being fake. But I got you. I'll make it right. He never made it right.
Wait, so he kind of like, he was saying that he was getting the brick from someone else, and then he was with you, going to be in business with you, and like, oh, it's not working. But really, was the whole thing a facade?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was just a way of him, stealing $17,000 from me. And shortly afterwards, my business ended up getting shut down. I really needed that money, and I never got it back. And I was really mad about the situation for years and years, because I'd run into him once in LA, and he's like, no, I'm going to pay you. Let's exchange numbers. Like, I'll get it to you, next week. He never paid me. And I interviewed Freeway Ricky Ross. And when I told him that story on camera for the first time, he said, well, you do know that if he didn't rip you off, you would have gone to prison. And I'm like, and suddenly, like, really just a bomb went off in my head. I'm like, I never thought of it that way. I just thought, I was going to be Pablo Escobar? I mean, that's dumb. I had no idea what I was doing. So yeah, I lost $17,000, but it kept me out of prison. And I've probably made about $50,000 talking about it. I'm going to make another $1,000 today just talking about it. So, at the end of the day, and what's funny is I found him on LinkedIn.
No, not LinkedIn.
No, I found him on LinkedIn. Honestly.
What was his most recent occupation?
He works for some tech company, some bullshit tech company that no one's ever heard of, and every person in the company is like a director, so the company ain't shit. And I reached out to him like, yo, let's do the interview. Like, I'd been talking about it for years. Like, oh, okay, yeah, let's talk first. And then he just never responded. And I'm just like, yep, this is the same bitch that he was back then. I think what he thinks is that he's going to show up and I'm going to have someone hurt him. Right? That's what I think he's thinking, that I'm going to get revenge. But I'm not, because $17,000 in 2025 really is nothing to me. Definitely not worth my freedom on any level, because I'd get arrested. So yeah, like, he would just come in. I wouldn't pay him anything. But my thing is, like, if you want to just make this right, karmically come in and do the interview, talk about it. It's way past statute of limitations for everybody. And it'll create some cool content. But then again, it might actually embarrass him somewhat and maybe mess up something else he's got going on. But I've never mentioned his name. I've never mentioned his initials. I mentioned that he was black. That's about it. And that we were around the same age. We went to school together. But that could be one of thousands of people. So, I never told on him. I just, it's one of those stories. It's part of my history.
Yeah, it's crazy to look back because it's almost like that could have been one of the best things that ever happened to you. Who knows how messed up life could have been if you'd really got in the dope game like that at that time,
One of the best things?
Well, you sometimes it's like the butterfly effect. Little things, take you off course and put you on the course you're supposed to be on.
Yeah, no, I mean, it put me on the course to be who I am today. I don't know, maybe I would have been Boston George. And I created millions of dollars with the wealth and so forth. But it was an interesting moment because he ripped me off and we were doing illegal business. And the only thing I could do is something violent. There's really no other option. I can't call the police. I can't sue him. I'd have to do something violent to him myself, or I'd have to have someone do something violent to him. And then that now escalates this whole situation to something else, right? And I was like, man, I'm not built for this. I realized my own mortality at that very moment and said, I'm not built for this drug shit. I'm cool. If this is what it entails, ripping people off and having to hurt people and shoot people and end up going to jail over this shit, over revenge, and yo, man, I'm cool. I'll go back to my regular ass boring legal business and I'll flourish there. This is not my thing.
I respect that, man. I feel like that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Were there any other criminal enterprises that you thought maybe I'll give that a try back in the day?
Nah, I'm not really a criminal like that. I've always figured out at one point that you don't have to rob and steal from people to become successful. When I read Warren Buffett's book, and there was a famous quote in there where he said, they say behind every great fortune is a great crime. Berkshire Hathaway, there's no crime. We do regular business, we pay our taxes, we just make good business moves, and we think of it long term. And once I read that, it all sort of clicked into place. Okay, you don't have to rip people off, you don't have to go behind people's backs and so forth. And if you look at the way I've done business all these years, not everyone loves me, but no one's ever said, Vlad ripped me off. Vlad said he paid me this and he never paid me. I'm suing Vlad because he owes me money or whatever else. That's just never happened. Even people that have worked for me and the situation went bad, we still pay them on their way out. Because my thing is just pay what you owe and keep it moving. Because once you start ripping people off and going down that, like the top 5 approach, it's just going to magnify. And whatever your win is, you'll take a much bigger loss in the long run. So that's just the way I've done it. So I haven't really done too much illegal stuff. I used to sell mixtapes back in the day. That's technically copyright infringement, but no one gave a shit. The music industry was promoting this stuff anyways. It was helping out their artists. So it was one of those things. I even got out of that, so me and DJ Drama were sort of doing it around the same time. And then when the feds arrested him and towed his car and seized his bank accounts and everything else like that, I said, I'm done. That's enough for me. Let me go into DVDs and video and so forth, because this mixtape shit, if this is what it leads to, it's just not worth it because there's not enough money in it. You're making barely enough to get by and then you end up getting arrested on top of it. I'm cool.
Well, that's a perfect segue to the next question I wanted to ask you, because it's a real throwback. So way back in the day, you made a film called Ghost Ride the Whip, right? That was a whole different time. Now, I'm in the whole documentary making space. I'm part of this sort of almost like a whole new wave of just independent. You make documentaries, you throw it up, you get YouTube revenue. I really want you to break down to me what it was like for you to actually make that film back then, and just how different media, hip hop, culture, media was back then compared to now, and maybe what lessons could be learned now as far as how things used to be done back then.
Well, I was making that film as I was launching VladTV. It all happened right around the same time, right around 2008. So I was already doing DVDs, like street DVDs, and I saw what was happening in the Bay. I'm from the Bay, so it was kind of a love letter to the Bay, to my home in a way. And I saw what was happening with the whole hyphy movement, with how much attention Mac Dre was getting because he had just gotten killed. And well, around that time, E40 Keep the Sneak had a huge song called Tell Me When to Go. Mac Dre, his songs were going crazy. This movie Rise just came out. I just interviewed Tommy the Clown, and we talked about, how that was a big influence at that time. I knew a filmmaker named Peter Spira, and I put together this idea of doing a documentary about the whole hyphy movement and the Bay and so forth. They turned it down. I said, well, let me just start filming it myself. So I put together like a 30-minute cut, came back, showed it to him again. He goes, oh, I like this. We got a deal with Image Entertainment. So as I was building VladTV, I was going to his house, and he has a studio in his garage, and me and David Wilson, his editor, would just sit there and start putting all this together. We were editing it all and so forth. We had a deal from Image, and I think I got like $30,000 to do it. And it was cool. It was a release in Oakland at the Grand Lakes Theater, and I used to live right by there. They did like an actual showing, and it was like kind of cool because my parents came. So it was like, let me show you guys what I've actually been doing all these years since you don't quite understand. So, it was a filled auditorium, a filled theater. Everyone got to watch it. They laughed and so forth. And it was cool, but once the dust settled, there was no money on the back end. I got paid like maybe $30,000, and I worked on it for like 4 months, like every day in the studio, day in, day out, and it comes out and it does decently well, but there's no real money in it. $30,000 is, that's not a lot. So that's why at that point I said, well, let me not really focus on the documentary thing, and let me just focus on VladTV and on YouTube, and I own that. And I remember talking to Peter, the director, about this, and he goes, that's a waste of time. There's no money in it. You got to work with these film companies. That's how the real money's made. And I'm like, all right, we'll see. We'll see. Years later, me and him are vastly different planes right now. So sometimes you just got to see the future. And, documentaries are still important. There are still very big documentaries, because there was no Netflix back there. Or if it was still a very small company that was just licensing other people's movies. But, with Netflix and Amazon and Hulu and so forth, like there are huge documentaries out there. So hopefully that answers your questions.
No, for sure. It's super interesting. You got time for more questions? Or
I'm here, man.
All right. So something I wanted to ask you, man, that's kind of dear to me. I feel like I'm in this kind of new era of drill music, gangs on social media. Now, you were making documentaries and making content and doing your thing as a DJ before social media was a thing.
Right.
Now, I feel like a thing that I struggle with a lot and that a lot of people come at me for is, oh, you shouldn't be talking about all these gangs. But I feel like you got guys that are posting their crimes, they're posting everything they're doing, their sets, everything on social media for everyone to see. What was it like back then? Was it more of a clandestine thing? Would it have been crazy for me to be just out in 2006 talking about what the Bloods and Crips have going on? Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about what it was like back then as far as street rappers, gangster rappers, the people you were rubbing shoulders with. Was it just a complete secret what they had going on in their lives?
I think I was the first media person in hip-hop to be called the police, honestly. Like, I don't think anyone was called the police in media before me. Because when I came into it, I was like, I looked at the landscape of hip-hop, and it just seemed so softball. Like, no one was asking the real questions. But then I would watch 60 Minutes, which was like my favorite show, and they would go all the way in. And I'm like, well, why isn't this part in media part of hip-hop media? Everything's just so surface level, and everyone avoids all these topics, but then they go in the booth and they talk about all this stuff in detail. So I kind of connected the two, and people were not ready for it. And what I was doing was definitely more softball than what you're doing these days. Like, I didn't do these deep dives and so forth, but I would ask people questions about what they rapped about and their backstory. So back then it was really shocking. These days it's not that shocking, right? Because there's a million people doing it, and there's people that do it. Like, for example, you have the Adam 22s that do it to the point of gang fights break out in their parking lot, or the parking lot next to their parking lot. I don't know legally what's going on there, but it's just one of those things where someone is going to take what you're doing and go one step further with it. But I'm glad that I sort of kicked down the door to hip-hop media just doing something more than what they were doing before. And this is why it's cool when like Complex makes these like media lists and they put me higher than some of the guys that I grew up watching, because I feel like they're recognizing that I am sort of the next wave of evolution in media. And although these guys may have bigger platforms or on big radio stations or whatever else, they're still doing it the old way. And the old way isn't bringing in the numbers and the views. Like, I'm a fan of Sway growing up, but I think Sway doing a Tekashi interview is not me doing a Tekashi interview. It would maybe do 100, 200,000 views, but it's not going to do 16, 17 million like I'm doing, because I think I just go a lot harder than he does. But, you know, everyone has their favorites and how they want to do it. Sway has a great career and is probably totally fine with doing it the way he's done it. Me, I didn't want to do it that way. I did it differently.
As a content creator, I feel like there's always this battle between keeping people sweet, towing the line, saying a nice thing so that you might get the interview, you might get the let into the gates. And then I feel like there's the other approach, which I feel like I often take, which is, I keep it so real with my audience. I say the stuff that other people would be scared to say. And that kind of grows my trust with my audience because they know I keep it real. I'm not scared to say Central Cee's a studio gangster or that Lil Durk's cooked and I think he's going away for life. That upsets people. I ain't getting no OTF interviews. Where do you feel like the right place to stand on that kind of dichotomy is, as far as, because I feel like you don't hold your tongue, but I would say you probably are more careful about your relationships than I am. Maybe it's different for different people, but just talk to me a little bit about that, towing the line, keeping it real with people, but then also knowing when to kind of softball and keep a relationship alive.
It's a balancing act, right? So for everyone watching this, your audience is more important than your guests. But there's certain guest relationships that are also very important that you want to keep. Like my relationship with Boosie is important. So when he told me, please don't do any more Charleston White interviews because Charleston is talking about my kids, I said, I get it. I mean, number one, we have the relationship. Number two, I see where you're coming from because I have kids as well. And Charleston went on to say crazy shit about other people's kids. So it's like, I get it. Now, if I was keeping it real with my audience, I would say, well, Boosie, my audience wants to see Charleston White because the last two interviews we did, millions of people watched. But that's not the decision that I made. I think Academics does a good job where, you know, he has relationships with a lot of these artists, but if something bad happens to him, he'll report on it. And I think they have to respect it because otherwise he wouldn't be who he is and that relationship to them wouldn't be very important because someone else would come in and keep it 100. So Academics, and I've learned a lot from our relationship and watching how he does his thing. And I mean, the fact that we do each other's platforms all the time, I think is great because he's one of the biggest voices right now in what we do. So you're not going to get to this level if you're trying to kiss everyone's butt all the time. Because honestly, these artists, these celebrities, they're not going to be loyal to you. You saw me going through this with, Lil Herb, right? When he was still starting out, we did multiple interviews with him that did millions of views. And at that time, you could say whatever you want to say. VladTV was bigger than Herb at that time, right? At that time. I'm not saying still or whatever else. He's a bigger artist now. I get it. But at that time, we opened up, my audience and, he says, oh, you've done nothing for me? I think we did something for him. We played a role. I'm not going to say I made his career. That's dumb. Of course I didn't make his career. He made his own career. But I think we helped out at a time that was pivotal for him. But look what happens. Years later, suddenly he doesn't want to do VladTV anymore. And then he talks shit when I point that out. It just shows that these artists will not really have loyalty to you. Now, I could sit there and be like, let me just keep talking nice about G Herbo, even though he did like the Adam Friedland show and said that me and Academics have to give back money to Chicago, whatever, when he has the stuff he says is way worse than what we've said. But look what happens. people turn on you. They get to a certain level. They feel they're bigger than you. They don't need you anymore. There's no loyalty. They're focused, it might be more popular to diss you than to actually do your show. And that just is what it is. And you have to realize that you'd be better off serving your audience, which means that sometimes you're going to burn a relationship here and there. But if that person is real and not just listening to what everyone else is saying, they'll realize that what you said was fair. And ultimately, it helped you grow as a platform. And if that platform is important to him, to what he's doing, he'll come back and rock with you. There's lots of people who I got the interview because of our public beefs. NLE Choppa is one of them. I would not have interviewed Choppa if I did not publicly go back and forth with him. But the fact that we did, and it got so big, and then academics stepped in the middle of it, and he's like, let me just get y'all on the phone together. And we talked. And it was a cool talk. Nobody was stupid. Nobody was ignorant. And like, yo, let's do an interview. It'll be the biggest thing ever. Like, this beef will turn into something which everyone can benefit off of. And he got it. He got it. Interview was huge. He went on to become an even bigger artist. Everybody wins. And hopefully more people could think like that.
So I'm not necessarily asking about numbers or money. I'm more just want to know from integrity and a pride point of view, what would you say is the interview that you're most proud of? And also the interview that maybe you're most, I don't want to say ashamed, but you just feel like maybe an interview you did that you wasn't proud of, it didn't really sit right with you. You felt like, maybe I shouldn't have put that out there into the world.
There's a lot of interviews I do, like, some people are not completely lucid, right? Meaning that people have speech issues, mental issues. A lot of older boxers I interview where they're CTE, they're punch drunk, they can't formulate their words very well, but you sit down with them and they have taken time out of their day and you have your whole staff there. So you go through with the interview anyways. I just interviewed this guy, Terry Watanabe. He lost his entire $350 million fortune in Vegas. He bet like $800 million in 1 year and ended up losing everything and is now on Social Security. Had to do a GoFundMe for cancer treatment, right? But, he was on cocaine, he was on a lot of alcohol, 12 bouts of rehab. By the time he sat down with me the other day, I didn't realize at the time, but he couldn't speak very well. He couldn't stand, he needed help walking. It was, he was, life had caught up with him. But I still need to do the interview and I still need to put it out, I feel. And but those interviews don't really sit well on me, unfortunately. It's just like I wish it was someone that was more able to engage. Because it's not like mentally he's still there, it's just he can't get it out. And this has happened with multiple boxers and so forth. And ultimately, I wish that, I don't know, I would be at the level of business where I could just say, I'm just not going to put this out and I'll just take the loss and I'll deal with the ramifications. But I still feel like, someone will get something out of this story. It's still an important story, even though he can't formulate it well. So that's what I still put out. Those are the ones I regret. In terms of the ones that I'm most proud of, the Terrence Gangster Williams Lil Diesel interview. That one I'm most proud of because the way it even came together was interesting. Because sometimes when I do interviews with people, I will get on the VladTV members forum and I'll say, hey, I'm interviewing so-and-so. What should I ask them? So I announced that I'm interviewing Gangster Williams, who's Birdman's brother, and someone said, hey, ask him about Lil Diesel from the MILF, and tell him not to duck it. So I brought it up. He's like, this messy ass question. Okay. So he goes into this whole story about this guy, Lil Diesel, and how they were always trying to kill each other. He got stabbed, like his whole stomach was cut open, and Lil Diesel's brother ended up getting his leg shot off. And it was just a bloodbath that was going back and forth with the Hot Boys and Diesel's crew. Then they get locked up and they pull out knives on each other. They try to kill each other in the jail. Hadn't seen each other in like 30 years. And, told the story. And then Lil Diesel reached out to me. He goes, hey, would you be interested in hearing my side? And then, I started thinking, I'm like, would you be interested in sitting down with Terrence on camera for the first time? He goes, yeah. So I called Terrence. I said, would you be interested in interviewing, doing this with Lil Diesel? He goes, yeah, I would. And I'm like, I flew them both out to New York. I had actual NYPD as my security that day, like an active New York cop in the room. I frisked everyone, and I sat there and I put them aside and I said, listen, guys, like, we're not trying to do the no jumper thing here. I don't want you guys to fight. I'm not here to try to aggravate the situation, right? I want this to be a mature conversation. And if any of you guys really start to act out, there's a cop in the room, and I can't stop him from arresting you guys if you guys start doing something illegal, like assault, right? Interview went great. They all talked it out. They all talked about, they took responsibility because Diesel went to prison for like 30 years also for some sort of murder he was involved in. So they had a great talk. Afterwards, they started to actually communicate with each other. Diesel had just got out of prison, needed a place to stay. So Terrence said, come live with me. He moved in to his house with Terrence's mom. They're in the morning cooking breakfast together. They're now best friends. And it was like, this was because of me. I put this together. Now, once I put them together, it was out of my hands. But this whole idea came from me of taking two arch enemies, and they're now best friends and roommates. So I'm really proud of that. Because people always try to say, oh, you try to get people to beef and you cause all this friction. Most times I don't. Most times I really try to go the other way. Now, friction does occur sometimes, but most times, even when I'm talking about someone that someone has beef with, I'll say, can you guys work it out? Sometimes I'll even say, I know this person. I'll get y'all on the phone. I'm cool with him. We interviewed 2 months ago. Usually it doesn't work out, but every so often it does. And the fact that I try, to me, means a lot. So that's what I'm most proud of.
No, that's amazing, man. Really respect that.
Thank you.
All right, I appreciate that, Vlad. I just want to say for the record, man, you didn't duck any questions. People be saying they asking you the police questions, but I asked you some police questions today. Right. You didn't duck anything. You kept it very real, man, and I really respect that. Thank you so much.
All good. Peace.